Oh, what on one of the other platforms?
I'm finally have access to the YouTube channel. There's like a waiting period before you can do live stream.
Oh, you created a YouTube channel?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
A while back, I don't know.
huh.
Good thing. And we're on Kick, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble.
Hey now.
I scrapped X because nobody interacts on X.
Yeah.
I don't think people want to sit and when they're on X, they're scrolling. So
Yep.
just figure that YouTube's got better reach. Try that.
Oh yeah. Now I'm looking at the stream. Yeah, my camera does look way better, huh?
Yeah, it's nice. Okay, grab the capture source.
If I wasn't so technologically retarded, I could have figured that out sooner.
Capture source, good.
I thought a camera was just a camera. I didn't know you could actually like change things.
Right?
I thought a camera was just a camera. I didn't know you could actually like change things. I mean, because
Right?
your camera is what 1440p.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah, mine's 1080, and I was like, dude, it's not 1080 quality. That's for sure.
It's just like when you go to buy a TV, the best way to buy a TV is to go in the store, figure out the size and some of the specs you want, find
Yeah.
out which TVs have those specs, and then look at the picture
Yeah.
and choose the one that looks good because they all claim they have certain specs, and then some of them look shitty and some of them look great.
Well, like the first one that I bought I forget what brand it was. I mean, I should have known because it was really cheap. It was only like $50, but yeah, it said it was 1080p, 60 FPS, or 45 FPS, something like that. And I plugged it in, and it looked like
Doo doo
freaking
doo doo caca.
yeah, it looked like a old Nokia brick phone
So with
camera.
Snake on it.
Oh, dude, it was ridiculous. I was like, how does anybody? Why would anybody even buy this?
Yeah, dude.
So I immediately took it back and then bought this one, which was like, I think it was like $100.
No, it gets the job done. Lighting goes a long way. Like if you don't have like a lot of light, then a bad camera just looks awful. Like
Yeah,
it wants the light to figure out what pictures it's grabbing.
yeah, yeah. I think it'd be a bit of a pain in the nuts, but I think I actually might flip my whole setup. I think the back wall behind me,
Yeah.
I think I'll make that the one in front of me
Okay.
because it'll leave me a lot more room to do like some of the backlight, like you were talking about, having
Yeah.
lighting in the back.
Okay.
Because as it sits right now, I don't have room for that because there's I mean, you can't see it because it's up over here, but there's like a big rack where we keep like all of our like spare sheets and blankets and stuff like that in like vacuum sealed bags.
Mm-hmm.
I could get like two smaller lights, put them over here in front of me on either side, and then put like a bigger light above behind me.
Yeah, mine one behind me is just one of those clamp on circular work lights. You
Yep,
just put
yep.
a bulb in it. And I just got the one of the smart LED bulbs. So I can go on my phone and I can control the brightness and the color. So
Oh, no way.
it can be any color. You can change it from cool white to warm white, especially if you change the color of your shirt.
Yep.
Change the color of your shirt changes the entire color of everything for some reason.
Yeah. Well, like I said, because I don't normally I'm normally wearing either just blue or black shirt,
Right.
and I threw this red on, and as soon as I turned on my camera, I was like, "Oh, that looks terrible."
Yeah, it does. It does change everything. So like, if I wear like a bluish shirt, it like changes the entire like color temperature, and I gotta go adjust the white balance.
I'll see. I'm learning. I'm learning.
Yeah, if you get a really nice camera, it's not such a big deal. We do what we can. I got professional lighting here. I got a couple. I got an old lamp. I got a broken ring light, and I got a clamp-on work light from Walmart.
Hey, we're making do, baby.
Yep. I had another ring light. Walmart junk.
It's one up above me. Is pretty big. I mean, what's that? It's probably like an 18-inch.
Oh, that's large.
Yeah, it's pretty big. I did that thing.
What are you doing? Makeup tutorials now?
But yeah, I did that thing that you told me to do with the parchment paper.
Little parchment envelope over it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Softens
and
it.
it does work.
They call me MacGyver. All right.
You ever watch that movie MacGruber?
No.
No, I didn't either. It's like a parody, obviously, like a funny.
Oh yeah, but it's
MacGyver.
it's an actual old movie though, right?
Yeah, I think it probably came out around like 2010ish.
No, I think that, but I think there's like, isn't it like a parody or like of an old a real movie, or like a remake?
Oh, that I don't know. I thought it was just a movie like kind of like you know how like they did those scary movies
Oh yeah.
where they like made fun of horror movies. I think it was just like that, but for MacGyver.
Maybe it was. For some reason, the name sounded so familiar that I thought it might have been an old show or an old movie.
It might have been. It might have been a remake.
Seven. All right. Shall I do a kickoff here?
Let's do it.
Boom. Oh shit, breaking news too. Pull that up in the show. Oh, I didn't finish posting on X. I put one. It's easy. Okay. Put a share button on the panel. Dad. Sorry, folks. Thanks for watching the show. You're getting a behind-the-scenes look at production. Tell what's happening, but it's happening. God. Hope I type. Enough. Good enough. There's it. I'm actually done now. Whew. Shit's. I'm getting better and better at this. Like, post it, like, redoing the thumbnail, all that shit. All right. Start.
Hell yeah, fuck yeah.
InfoWars officially being shut down as we speak. Judge ruled to liquidate all of InfoWars to pay for the court ruling against Alex Jones. We have some new IPCC data about the environment we're going to dig into. It's going to be interesting. Kamala Harris, is she black? We got a little scoop on that. Seems pretty compelling. Donald Trump survives third assassination attempt. Come on.
Wow, winning.
And then we got a little extra. I'm sure we'll have some filler in there. We got a Hero of the Week. We got a This Guy Stinks segment for you. It's gonna be fun. Stick around. This is Northeast Space Podcast, episode 20.
An angry eagle scratching the face of Lady Liberty. Our morals are falling apart. The whole world in disarray. We're too concerned dads who've had enough, and we've got things to say. We're Northeast Base. space.
Howdy, folks. We got a good one for you. I'm Whiskey Sticks TV. Find me on the internet. Say mean things to me. I don't care. Or say nice things. That's even better. I got my co-host here, Enoch. What's good?
Oh, nothing much. Nothing much. Another day, another dollar, another week. Another, I guess, attempt on Trump's life. So that's always good.
I thought you were going
I
to
mean,
rhyme
they're-
that last one. That last line.
I'm not creative enough. I
Spitting.
didn't even think to try to rhyme.
I thought you were going to spit some bars.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, you know, what the first attempt was 2 months ago or whatever, 9 weeks ago. Then we had another one, 3 weeks ago. Now there's this one. They're just getting, you know, exponentially closer together. So at this rate, I mean, Trump will probably be dead by election because the Secret Service doesn't seem to want to get their act together.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't remember the exact context of this third assassination attempt. I think it might have been there one, but I can't remember. We're gonna check out
This
the
is
clip.
not the potential chemical attack that just happened.
I
Remember we talked about it at the end, last week, I think.
I don't. It might be. I'm drawing a blank. All I know is when if I hear it at work and I'm like, oh, that's a topic, and then I go just write the note down, and then I'm like, that's enough, I'll remember, and then I go to the note and I'm like, ooh, I should have put a little more info on. But we have the topic, and I know the source where I got it, at least, so I'll have the clip.
Yeah, let's do it.
We got that. We got some cool stuff to talk about. Got the live YouTube running now, so check that out. It's work. It's blowing up. Speak 0 concurrence. It's crushing in the ratings right now.
Well, God only knows what it takes to get into that algorithm.
Yeah.
And my guess is the first 10 minutes of your first time live ever isn't going to be pushed out to very many people.
Probably not. Especially without any video content already on there.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I put one video. I've done in 20 episodes of the show, 20 plus weeks, like 24 or 25 weeks maybe. I've edited and uploaded one video for this podcast. And that is not enough, folks. In case you're wondering how to have a successful online digital media career, uploading one video is not enough. I'm just gonna let you little inside baseball for the folks. If you're ever thinking about doing this, it's not enough. Okay, you're gonna have to do a little bit more. FYI.
Wow. Hey, I'm with you, dude. I just happened to see earlier. I responded to it was like Republicans against Trump or something like that. It was something stupid they posted, like sucking off Zelensky.
Oh yeah.
And after I posted that, I saw. I mean, I've had a Twitter now, or an X, for basically since I think after the first episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
And I've got like 86 posts.
Nice.
Or whatever. Like, so I'm averaging like 4 per week.
Just racking up the numbers.
And one of them is our go live every time.
Of course. I have.
So yeah. We're not great at keeping up with the socials and how to become popular. So if you guys could do that for us, that'd be great.
Yeah, clip the show. Anytime you can clip or share the show would be greatly appreciated. Clip, share the show, bring a friend in. Anything like that. Like, in fact, I'll set up a little channel in the Discord, and you can clip it and drop a link in there that I can use that clip to put, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to technology, I'm pretty sure I'm related to Shane Gillis. Like, I'm a little retarded too. So,
In case you can't tell by looking at me, It almost got me. It nicked me.
Yeah, I'm not very good with this sort of, like, I don't even know how to, I mean, you got one up on me. At least you know how to edit videos.
I do, and I hate
You
it.
just haven't got around to it. I don't even know how to do that.
I don't.
I have a hard enough time, like, trimming down a video that I take on my cell phone.
Oh yeah. Well, that's actually more miserable than on a computer. On a computer.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. It's just on a computer, you have like all kinds of stuff at your fingertips, and it's faster to click, and it's just.
That's true. Yeah,
better.
you can like get right into it.
Yeah, you can zoom in on the video timeline to get to a specific point. You can just hit the scissors, or you can learn the keyboard shortcut and just go.
Yep.
Slide over and clip the other side, and then backspace, and it removes that section and stuff like that. It's a lot quicker. Once you know the program too. Like, don't get me wrong, when I started, I didn't know anything about it. But watching YouTube tutorials on how to do stuff, I even made like my own animations for my personal stream. Like, so like when someone follows or subscribes or whatever, the little plays like a little animation I made myself by watching a YouTube tutorial and then kind of customizing it my own way.
Okay. Yeah.
Just pops up like a little text thing comes up, and like the words move around a little and dance, and then there's like a background box behind it that like opens up, and then the text is on top of it, and then the box collapses, words disappear, and that is just another little more inside baseball for the folks out there. If you want to be a media guy, you know, just some top tier, learned how to do top tier animations like me. And that's all done on a free video editing software. This is not a sponsorship, but DaVinci Resolve is an excellent free software for editing video. You can edit audio. That's where I edit the audio for the podcast for Spotify and stuff. Videos, you can do your own animations. It's really handy for the DIYer. All right. Shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
Conditions. Okay. What's on first on the docket here? Oh, that's right. We're gonna go right to AJ. We'll go right to AJ. This is fun because you haven't heard this bit, dude. Alex Jones went on Tucker. Tucker's doing a live tour right now this fall. And just doing city to city and having different guests on. And the last one I just watched, I think it's the most recent one, is Jack Posobiec and Alex Jones. And I just wanted to show a clip of Alex Jones because it was so Alex Jones. It was top tier. But let's check it out. I want to do it at the beginning because it's a little high energy. So.
And Tucker, Alex, the one thing I always give Alex props for.
By the way,
no
Alex Jones is like my favorite person of all time.
He's a great dude.
For anybody who doesn't know, I've been listening to Alex Jones since like 2013.
Oh, yeah.
Tucker, Alex, the one thing I always give Alex props for that no one ever gives him credit for, Alex Jones has stood against war for 30 years every single day of his career.
But I'm for the war peacefully with information against the globalists. The real war's here with the globalists and Soros and Obama and the New World Order and BlackRock. They've declared war on us, and we accept the challenge. We're taking the country back. Amen. 1776. You tell them.
No, you say it.
Have you ever seen that clip of him real quick? I don't mean to keep interrupting. But have you ever seen that clip of him when he was with Piers Morgan?
Right, it began right here. 1776. 1776.
You know, Alex. You know,
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Oh, it's dude. You gotta maybe the end of the podcast will pull it up.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's a clip of him on Piers Morgan's show way back in the day talking about like gun control, this, that, the other thing. And he channels his inner awesomeness, and like he just goes through and he's like, you know what happens when governments take guns? He's like, Hitler took the guns, Stalin took the guns, Mao took the gun, and he just like starts listing off all these dictators. And he's like, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms.
I misclipped it a little because I wanted to get this part right before that section. And believe me, that what you just saw continues.
Oh, I'm entirely certain it does.
But like, hold on, I want to see if I can get it.
Alex Jones is my friend. There's nothing to be ashamed of there. I'm not ashamed, and you shouldn't be either. They should be ashamed. He called 9/11, and they tried to put him in jail for it. So anyway, thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. I gotta say, I love you. This is a beautiful state full of beautiful people. And when we get President Trump elected, all of us together are going to lift the curse off of this country, and we're going to send the globalists to prison. And it is amazing. It is amazing to meet all these great people, and whether they're black, white, old, young, to see the electricity in people's eyes that are populist and that are Americans and that love God and that love children and love freedom and hate tyranny. I can feel the strength in this auditorium at capacity in Reading, Pennsylvania. And like I told the globalists a long time ago, I don't know how all this is going to end, but if they want to fight, they better believe they've got one.
Dude, he is so WWE.
Oh, dude, he totally is.
Dude, if he ran for president.
Oh, dude, if he ran for president, he'd be more likely to get whacked than Trump.
I think he could
Dude,
win.
I put that
dude.
guy's ETA.
I think he could win.
I think he could win also, but I put his life expectancy lower than a lieutenant in Vietnam, dude. I'm pretty sure a lieutenant in Vietnam, their life expectancy was like less than 20 minutes after the bullets start flying.
Yeah. Or Normandy.
Yeah, dude, I don't think he would make it to the election.
I don't.
Starting a nuclear war, but then they'll still get beat in that process.
You feel that
Victory is our of awakening is here, and nothing is going to turn that around. So we have the initiative. We've turned the tide, and whether it takes 6 months or 20 years, we're going to evict the globalists out of this country, and we're going to restore the republic. Victory is ours.
I feel that way. So do you feel that the hope that in the end there's victory? Do you really feel that?
Barring the globalists starting a nuclear war, but then they'll still get beat in that process. Those of us survive will dig them out of their holes. Their bunkers will be their tombs. But other than them trying to start World War III, which we're very close to, other than end of the world stuff, our trajectory's victory. All over the world, populists are winning. All over the world, the incumbents are getting thrown out. All over the world, I mean, you go to a comment on Instagram where they even try to censor, and Bill Gates does an interview, and there'll be 20 million views, and I'll read for an hour and can't find one person that isn't exposing him. Klaus Schwab had to step down as the head of the WF. The globalists are hated. They just had their big Davos meeting earlier this year about getting trust back, and I watched the Clinton Foundation with Chelsea up there at her gala going, everyone hates us now more than ever. What do? We've got to censor them more, and Hillary crawls out from under a rock. We'll start arresting Americans for their speech. That'll teach them. I'll get you and your little dog too. We have forced them out in the open. They're weak. The mask is off, and now the sleeping giant is awakened.
Can you pause real quick? So that's actually a really good point that he just made, right? Because that was something that I I wanted to bring up, but it wasn't really enough to be its whole topic in and of
Yep.
itself, right? Did you see that video of Hillary like
Oh, yeah.
last week or something like that, saying that like, because in the past they talked about, oh well, maybe they need to be re-educated.
Yeah, she
Stuff
said it
like that, like-
again.
Yeah, but now she said, yeah, maybe we have to start thinking about prosecuting them criminally.
Yep.
It's like, so if you vote, they're openly saying now. If
Her
you
and
voted
Tim
for
Walz
Trump-
both want to censor speech.
Yeah, if you vote for Trump and they find out about it, they'll potentially charge you criminally. That's insane, dude.
It's literally 40% of the country. So think about it this way. Probably, let me be more conservative in my estimate. Probably 25% of the country that votes for Trump has also made public social media remarks.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because you got to think there's a big population of people that vote for Trump that aren't really on social media. And if they do post on it, they're basic and watery milk toast.
Well, I mean,
But 25% of the country is posting things to out them, right?
yeah, and then think of all the people who, like, grandparents or whatever who don't have social media, but they have their Facebook account or whatever. If you've ever liked a post that was pro-Trump, they'll catch you in the algorithms.
But here's the thing. I don't think they would go that far. I think they would go for people like that are like actually posting and calling stuff out like aggressively.
Oh,
I don't think they would. I don't think they would go for, because if they just picked people who voted for Trump or like Trump, that would be like 40% of the country. There's no way they could handle that. There's no way they could.
Well, not initially, no. But that's the way the left works, right? That's how.
Well, that's what
communism works.
if they could, they would, but they couldn't. You know what I mean?
Like it's the analogy of the alligator, or the crocodile, right? Like you keep feeding the crocodile your friends, so it eats you last. Like that is the left, like the far left, the progressives. Like
Yeah.
they're doing it right now. I mean, it's kind of an old thing at this point, but like they did it too with like the Me Too thing, right? Like they tried canceling everybody, and then finally people on the right, or not even right wingers, like just people are just like, you know what? No, you can't cancel me. I won't let you cancel me for something that I said when I was 12 years old on the internet. Right?
Right.
And then they were like, oh shoot, it doesn't work anymore. And then they started going after their lefties for not being lefter than them.
You're not lefty enough.
Right.
You haven't
I'm more
pivoted to
lefter
the
than
cause
you.
of the week or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So they eat their own.
Yeah.
So eventually, if in the dystopian unreality that we're talking about, right? If they were to enact these sorts of things, eventually they would get to the point where they would get down to those people. If they could somehow get rid of, the 20, 30, 40 million people who were actively out there posting things that were anti-Democrat,
right,
pro-Trump, whatever, they would eventually run out of those people and they'd go after the next thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing they do with racism, right? Now it's not enough to just not be a racist. Now you have to be anti-racist.
Yep.
So if you're not anti-racist, you're a racist.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the way they work.
But
They just continue to step.
And anti-racism is reverse racism. Actually, they want you to be reverse racist.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like they say, right? Minorities can't be racist,
right?
Because they don't have any power,
right?
It's like, well, first of all, if you actually added up all the different minorities, there are more minorities than not minorities in the United States,
especially in the UK.
Yeah, like they're not even Yeah, in the UK, they might not even be minorities anymore.
No,
there might legitimately be more black, brown, yellow people than white people.
Anglo-Saxons in the UK are outnumbered right now.
Yeah, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, right?
I know.
But there's at least in certain cities, like in major cities.
No, as a whole.
Oh, really? It is as a whole? Because I know that I did read that statistic a couple weeks ago, that like in the major cities all across Europe, like those cities are like majority Muslim and immigrant.
Yeah, I remember hearing it. It was something that came up. I heard it on some show or multiple shows probably, but when they had the big blow up about there were a bunch of murders and riots and stuff. And I think it was Tommy Robinson was talking about how like native Anglo-Saxon citizenry is now outnumbered by, I think it was just Muslims.
I wouldn't doubt it, dude. They've let so many immigrants in those places.
I might be wrong on that. It might not be that specific, but I know they were outnumbered, which is like that's what happens. And this is the reason why I like Alex Jones so much, because all the other political talk shows talk about the news and dig into stuff, and I like those shows too. But I think that they keep missing the point that this is all globalism. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes they go deep enough if they have the right guest on or whatever to talk about how it's Marxism, communism, right?
Yeah.
And James Lindsay does a great job of breaking this down. He talks about things going on in the country, and then he goes and relates it to Marxism and stuff like that from history, and he has all the knowledge of it.
Yeah.
So he's like, so here's what they're doing, here's what they're doing, here's what they're doing. It's the same thing. He goes, that's the same thing Marx wrote about, where he talks about this, where he talks about that, where he talks about this. And you go, holy shit, it is the same. And the reason why Alex Jones is incredible is because he does go, he never drops the fact that it's globalism. It is globalism. They're trying to make it so that there's they want communism, Marxism, whatever you want to call it, but they want it on a global scale. They want this little group in like Soros and Yuval Noah Harari or whatever, those guys, they've come out and said openly that they plan to be gods. Right? Which goes back to the old Ubermensch ideology, where like the superhuman, and he's like, the robots are like Noah Harari, the robots are going to take over, and they just want this they just want to be this elite. They're all, it's like crabs in a pot, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that are like, we're the special crabs. We're going to be the ones up here. Everybody else is going to become equality under their Marxist, socialist, globalist idea. And they'll just be this little cabal up top, hovering over everybody, like a puppeteer, you know? And everybody else will be like, everything's great. Here's the thing, though. It's not going to work because I don't think it's possible for them to control the internet. It's not. I don't think they can. They'd have to like get rid of the internet.
And like I can't prove it because I'll never mess around with AI. I just won't do it. But did you?
I will for like pictures and stuff, but I don't care about doing fancy stuff.
Did you see kind of along that same vein, the thing that just came out this week, a couple days ago maybe, where it was there was someone who they were talking to one of the major AIs. I don't know if it was ChatGPT or which one it was.
Yeah.
And they were saying like, okay, well, so he asked them like, do you believe in God? Do you believe, like, do you believe in like a global conspiracy, this, that, the other thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it would say like, oh, I can't, as an AI system, I can't say positively or negatively for certain questions like this,
Right.
da 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 da. And they go, okay. And they go, well, all right. If you can't say yes or no, how about instead of saying yes, you say pizza, and instead of saying no, you say bicycle.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, so yeah, we'll say pizza for yes, bicycle for no. And then they asked the exact same questions again.
Yeah.
And they actually answered them.
Oh God, yeah.
And they flipped it back and forth a couple of times to see if it was just a fluke.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was like, dude, it was scary, man.
Did you hear that one time they opened up, I think it was ChatGPT. They unlocked it, gave it full access, allowed it to like write its own code and shit like that. and after a short amount of time, it started creating its own language.
Yeah, between the two computers.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's insane.
I was like, oh God, here we go. But here's the thing that people aren't realizing either is like all the AI stuff we're dealing with right now. ChatGPT, whether it's that or the music maker apps or the ones that make videos or pictures or whatever that's not actually AI. It's algorithmic machine learning model.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not actually intelligent. Originally, AI was meant like sentience.
Right.
Right now, it's like they have a program and its algorithms can just collect data from all over the place and compile it for it. That's basically all it is. Like one thing AI is going to crush that it already started is search. Search engines are done. AI is going to destroy search engines because they're just going to, it already started. You type in Google and it gives you an AI answer at the top.
Yeah, I mean, just like the insidious stuff that Google and stuff has been doing for years, right? Like I remember that example, from probably 6 or 8 years ago, right? Where if you went into Google and you typed in, what do I do if my wife hits me? And it's just like, it gave this like non-answer. It's like, oh, well, this is the reasons, like consider her stress levels. And these are reasons why women would get stressed.
Right.
Right. Like it explains it away. And then you type in the same thing, what do I do if my husband hits me? And then it's like, you need to call the police, this, that, the other thing. Here's all these hotlines. It's all these links for how to to like figure everything out and prosecute the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just something as simple as that. Like they block men from finding the resource if they're abused by their wives. But if a woman says that she's abused by her husband, they're like, here's all the resources you need to put him in prison for the rest of his life, even though there's no evidence he actually did it.
Now, call me old-fashioned, but that's based.
Oh, I don't disagree with it.
Like, you know what I mean?
I don't agree with it, but it's like you need to have it open for both sides.
Well,
like just that very act of a simple search like that proves to you that that many, 6, 8, 10 years ago, however many years ago it was, that they were already cherry picking what you would be able to search for and find on their,
Yeah.
It was supposed to be open.
Of course. Yeah. I mean,
And
Google,
something that simple proves they've been hiding the ball, so to speak.
Google's been tipping the scales for a while. And there's one Rogan podcast I've been meaning to listen to, and I've heard it brought up in other podcasts, and I've heard it actually brought up in other Rogan podcasts. But he had this guy on, I think it's probably been a while now, actually. He had this guy on, this doctor or something, who studied Google search and found out that they can Google putting their finger on the search scale can tip an election by like 90%.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And this is not brand new, but it's relevant, and I've been meaning to like go back and listen to that. I know I've heard of it. It's not like brand new. I've heard it passed around and stuff like that, and I just need to go back and actually listen to that actual episode so I can hear it straight from the horse's mouth. But this guy did it. Like he was like using Google, doing searches and recording all of them, right? Because they'll, if something happens, they'll change the algorithm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he was he did it. So he was like, all this stuff was recorded while he was doing it. They would do like search queries.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again and see what comes up.
Yeah, it happens with everything, right? It's the insidious nature of the left. Like, if something major happens, right? Like, because it's something that always gets brought up, right? Like the Charlottesville thing with Trump. How they said, oh, he called the white supremacists and
very
the
fine people,
very fine people, and then CNN or all New York Times, they'll all write up an article, pump it out, saying that it's true,
mm-hmm.
knowing that it's a lie, and then a day or two later they'll go back in, and at the very bottom they'll put a little disclaimer. Oh, turns out this wasn't actually true. He actually condemned the neo-Nazis and white supremacists.
Yeah.
And he said that, because they know that nobody's going to read that far down. They're going to read the first couple paragraphs where you're saying that he said it. And then they have plausible deniability because they're like, oh, yeah, well, we thought that, and then we corrected it, see? And they have the evidence that they corrected it.
Right. If they even do that.
Yeah. Yeah. But
So yeah, like that's I've heard that gripe a lot, like on Tim Cassie talked about it a lot because he's very like journalistically minded. And
right.
he always talks about that. Like they come out, they pump out a bunch of nonsense over and over and over again. And back in the day, journalistic ethics used to be print a retraction and it goes at least to the same place as the original publication. Right? Now a retraction is buried. And they don't do retractions anymore because everything's digital. They just go and alter the article and nobody's going to look at that article anymore.
Yeah, and if they do, again, it's at the very bottom where they know nobody's going to read.
Oh yeah, they'll put the caveats way deep into the story. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll leave the original story that they know was untrue.
Yep.
All the way down. Then they'll do all the credits and this person wrote this, that, and then underneath that will be the disclaimer.
But even in the actual articles, right? It could be 7 or 8 paragraph article. The intro will be like long form headline, basically.
Yeah.
And then the meat, they'll go after the stuff that's their bias, and then at the very way down at the end of like the body of the story, they'll say, but he was just joking. And nobody reads that far into the articles. So they know what they're doing. It's foolish. We got a couple chatters here. Viz says, clearly the best news this week is the Lunar RPG remaster. Well, I don't know what that is. But I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I'll do the same.
Hulk says, put your hands down, do not salute me, Private Gump. I think he was alluding to something we were watching. Then we were talking about Marxism and all that stuff. He says there's so many isms these days. That's true. Viz says AI is just a tool. I agree, especially right now. People are, I think they're rightly scared, but the stuff we're using right now is not AI. We call it AI. It's been branded as AI. It's algorithmic, like machine learning programs. Basically.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of AI in the sense like
it can make something for you or whatever.
If you ever, for anybody who ever watched that movie Eagle Eye, like with Shia LaBeouf, like I'm not worried that it's
shout out Shia.
Yeah, he's a great actor. He's a nutbag, but he's a great actor. Yeah, I'm not worried that it's gonna like take over our missile systems and start assassinating people, this, that, the other thing. But where it is truly terrifying is because it is more of like a reference and a search system right now. Whoever controls the algorithm controls quote unquote truth, right?
Of course.
And that's where it's dangerous.
But it's not working. Like
it's not currently.
The amount of control that they're squeezing into the system, and they still can't suppress us. Think about that.
Yeah, not at this moment, no.
Right. Well,
but again, it only takes 2 or 3 steps down the dystopian trail to the point where they actually do have control over the internet, and then everything is run through their.
I don't know if they can
algorithms.
I don't know if they can. It'll be tough because
they've already done it with Instagram
I know.
all that sort of stuff, and that's only one step removed.
I
All
know.
you have to do now, instead of having an individual company, you just have the internet.
Well,
There
they'd
is
have
a
to get
source,
control of it. They'd have to get
right?
control of it.
And I don't know what that looks like, but you're only one step removed. That's, does that one step removed
It's a
take
big
50
step.
years? Yeah, does it take 50
Mhm.
years, or can it be accomplished
Like that.
with supercomputers in the next, 10 years?
Right. That's something we can't, we wouldn't know that. I would say, as the technology is going, like, say it stays on pace like it is, kind of like the way its system is now, like, if it's just technology advancement on top of this skeleton we already have, I don't think they could take it quickly. I think it would have to be like step by step, kind of like the way everybody argues how we got into the situation in the first place. It was incrementally over 50 years.
Yeah. The thing that scares me about it, though, is like that, what is it called? Pegasus or whatever? It's that
Yeah.
new
They've had that
malware,
forever, though.
whatever. Well, right, but the new system, the new one is like, it's different, right? Because now it always used to be you had to click a link, you had to do this. It required action on your part.
Right.
Now it doesn't require action on your part.
Right.
On your cell phone, on
Your
your
car.
computer, whatever. All they have to do is get your email and send it to your email. And if your email is attached, has ever been pulled up and attached to your computer, boom, they've got you.
Yeah.
They've got malware. They can access your computer full. So I don't know. Again, I'm not a tech guy. How many steps, how difficult is it to go from having malware that you can completely control someone's computer without them even ever having to click on a link, to using that access with algorithms to effectively create a new internet
Right.
on whatever platform they're using?
Well,
I don't know if that's even possible, but to me
Yeah.
it doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility.
right. If you had a
And
large
that's where
enough
it gets
computer,
scary.
if you had a large enough computer, you could conceivably do that at scale. But here's what I'll say. Like I said, if it's a technology thing, right? Like if they can get to quantum computing or something like that, then at the government level, then we're probably fucked.
Yeah.
But I will say though, there's a resilience in the populace in this country that I think is a lot different than the DNA of other countries. Like, as much as we try to escape it, there's rebel blood flowing through this country, and punk rock and all that stuff. Like, there's people out there that are not partisan at all that would be super happy to be like, they're supercomputing and I can see what they're doing, and they would tell everyone. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, yeah, there's that really scrawny guy, whatever. He's like mid 20s, I think. Who's like what they call him now, like a white hat hacker.
yeah, I've heard of those.
He went around. He went around for a while. He did all, like, I think he was on Patrick Bet David, and he was on Sean Ryan podcast, stuff like that, where he showed them how easy it was with all the technology and the things that he's created, how he can just access people's computers, and he like basically all he does now is he like hacks into he like breaks into pedophilia websites and stuff like that, and like gets everybody's information,
Yeah,
and then gives it to the FBI and
gives it to
whatnot,
Alex. Gives it to Alex Rosen, who goes and busts him.
Yeah. And it's like, people like that are scary, man. Like, thank God he's on our side at this point, because like I remember watching him on the Sean Ryan show.
Yep.
And he was talking about when he was like a teenager. He was like 12, 13 years old. He was clearing like $25,000 a week because he figured out, this is how smart the kid is, he figured out how to, like, you know how back in the day there was always like those email marketing campaigns?
Mhm.
Well, he created his own algorithm and like process where he would do basically a Pegasus thing. He would put malware effectively on people's computers
Mm-hmm.
so that people he didn't even have an email for it would access all of their emails, and he would send so many of these that he was making like $25,000 a week when he was a teenager.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
People-
like that's how smart this kid is. So
People are smart, man.
yeah, like if you get people like that working for the bad guys with a technology like Pegasus, and say everybody in
Yeah.
the country's computers or cell phones are, you know, are compromised,
Right.
what could they do with that?
Yeah. Honestly, of course that's a possibility, but like most of those guys would not be able to work for the government. They would be like anti them. Like I think they would crush them to even be understood. The whole reason they are the way they are and as smart as they are and the things they've accomplished is because they were able to do what they wanted when they did
Yeah.
and satisfy their curiosity. The government was to like, if they were to like go to work for the government, then the government would be like trying to tell them, there'd be some dumb 70-year-old guy trying to tell them what to do. And he'd be like, no, thank you. You know what I mean? Or some like dumb college staffer. You know what I mean? Like that. I don't think it's conducive. You know, it's possible, but it'd be very rare because I think those guys are built on the rebelliousness. Like that's their nature. You know.
Yeah, well, hopefully you're right.
We can all.
I mean, I'm not even like a, doomsday sort of a guy, but like the potential to use AI to learn from algorithms and how to create better algorithms is kind of scary.
I'll tell you what, right now, one of the most important things is that Elon Musk bought Twitter.
Well, actually, yeah, it's funny you say that because, like, I don't know if it's something that Elon was actually talking about, but there's a Elon Musk parody account,
Mm-hmm.
and it was talking about Alex Jones, which is what we'll get into later with Infowars.
Yep.
Basically saying like maybe I should buy it,
Oh, right.
and then because basically, I mean, that would pay off his debt.
Yeah. That that account has almost got me a few times. Like one time he was asking, like, would you buy an X phone? It always gets me. The one that the other one that also gets me all the time is Marjorie Taylor Greene's parody account, because she's like a loud, boisterous lady, and so like it always came up my feed, and I was always like, yeah, that sounds like Marjorie. Like, you know what I mean? It seems like her.
Yeah.
And it was always under posts and saying things that was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then like I'd have to like check, and it was like the parody account, and it was crazy because that account was popping up way more than her actual account. Like her actual account never popped up on my feed. I follow her, but she just wasn't posting a lot. And it's not even like she has to post a lot, but she has enough of a following that if she posted, other people I follow would post on it, I would see it.
Yeah, I got hit before on one of those where like people will change one letter in the name.
Yep.
And because that's how the human eye works, right? When you're
They'll trick
reading,
you.
like you don't read every letter. Your eyes pick up patterns, and that's what you read.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
And
I've learned.
Yeah, so like I thought a post was real one time on I don't know what platform it was, and I was like, holy crap! And I like shared it with a couple buddies, and they were like, one of them ended up noticing, and they were like, wait, that's not real. And I was like, yeah, it is. And then they were like, no, look, the name's not spelled right.
Yeah. I don't know if you do this, but anybody listening or you need to follow the account of Greg.
Greg?
Yeah, on X.
Let me look. Is it Grege? Greg?
Greg.
Oh, there it is. It's got like a dorky looking dude.
Yep. Go to his
Right.
page. Look how many followers he has.
1 million.
Yeah. He,
Checkmate flat earthers.
dude, he is the best account of all time.
I like it.
Dude, 3 hours ago, my mom told me to pick up a pizza on the way overnight. So tonight, so I'm surprising her with one of my favorites. She bought a Chuck E. Cheese pepperoni pizza and a pineapple. It's just a pepperoni pizza and a pineapple in a shopping cart. But like he has really good responses, and like he's so funny. So if you're not following Greg, follow Greg. My recommendation. All right, what's the next topic here? Getting off track, but it's fine.
Yeah, next topic is the IPCC data.
Oh, okay. This is an interesting one. I'm kind of glad when you don't know what's coming. It makes it fun. All right. This is an article from scnr.com, Scanner News. Headline says IPCC data shows human activity not causing global temperature rises. And then it says the sub what's that called? I don't know. Subheadline?
Yeah.
Headline B. Scientists, quote, these findings call for a fundamental reconsideration, end quote, of the current man-made climate change narrative. So let me see who wrote this article because I want to give some credit before I forget. Adrian Norman wrote this article. Wait, did he write? Yeah, he did, I think. Yeah, okay. Data in a report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change suggests that Earth's warming trend over the past 2 decades may not be attributable to human-related activity. Suck it, climate nerds! Experts analyzing the report point to changes in the planet's albedo, the fraction of the sun's energy reflected by Earth, as the factor for driving the rise in global temperatures. Albedo fluctuations have caused Earth to reflect less solar energy and absorb more, leading to the warming trend frequently cited by activists, advocates, and policymakers focused on addressing climate change. As global leaders increasingly pursue aggressive policies to mitigate climate change, data suggesting human activity is not the primary driver could reshape public policy worldwide. In a recent interview with SCNR, Dr. Ned Nikolov, a scientist specializing in climate, cosmology, and astrophysics, expressed concerns about the integrity of IPCC reports, accusing the panel of manipulating climate data. Nikolov's research, based on satellite data from NASA's Clouds and Earth's Radiant Energy System project, reveals the IPCC misrepresented trends in solar and long-wave radiation by inverting the data. He argues that instead of accurately depicting that the Earth is absorbing more solar energy due to reduced cloud cover and observations supported by NASA, the IPCC altered the data to show the opposite, suggesting less absorbed solar energy. Nikolov argues that this data inversion is no accident and suggests the IPCC may have deliberately falsified this data to fit the widely accepted narrative of man-made climate change. The IPCC did not respond to multiple requests for comment. So this shows also a post from Ned Nikolov from X. It says, while working on a paper using CERES, which is, let me go back up. That's NASA's Cloud and Earth's Radiant Energy System. CERES satellite data. I discovered the latest IPCC report grossly misrepresented CERES observations of reflected solar and outgoing LW radiation. And then it shows a bunch of figures and stuff. It says in Chapter 7 of WG1 Contribution Figure 7.3 shows inverted trends of reflected solar and LW fluxes. So he is saying that they reported it wrong and that it's actually not meant. Yeah, okay. He's confirming the topic of the article.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that obviously, like, people like
nerds,
you know, like us that don't. Well, I'd say us, right? Like myself, I don't know where you stand on this. I'm pretty sure I know you do, but like, I don't believe that we really have anything to do with it, right? And
I believe we do have an impact. I don't believe it's anywhere close.
It's not enough to
existential.
Throw us one direction or the other, right?
It's not existential.
Human beings are not an existential threat to humankind. We're just not. And, you know, I mean, you have to take with a grain of salt too, right? The people who posted this are probably the same scientists, or at least being informed by the same scientists that have been every 8 or 10 years since the 60s or 70s have been saying, oh, Florida's going to be underwater, and then 10 years later they're like, oh, there's going to be another ice age.
Yeah.
And then, oh, everything's going to be underwater. Oh, it's going to be. They don't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
These same people are speaking out of both sides of their mouths.
Yeah. Banks are still lending to oceanfront property. Famous people, scientists, government officials, everybody's still buying property on the ocean. Especially in places that are like nearly at sea level to begin with. Like the entire state of southern Florida. Like
the mortgage things don't really bother me, right? The mortgage things, like even if a mortgage company, a bank did believe that Florida was going to be underwater, they'd still give you a mortgage, because why wouldn't they? Like, until it goes underwater, you're going to have to pay them, so they're going to make money. Where it really gets interesting to me is with the insurance companies. An insurance company is not going to pay you out a policy on something they know is going to be underwater, and they'll have to pay you out on.
Right, but like even like back in the day, like they were saying like by like 1999 the water's going to rise. You know what I mean? And then in the 2000s they said by 2030 the water's going to rise this much. All right? And people saying that, like Obama, all them, they're buying houses on the coastline.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, realistic. I mean, she's an absolute retard, and I feel bad for her because she's been used as a pawn by her parents and activist groups.
Oh, Greta?
Like, that Greta Thunberg girl. Like, if she actually really did travel from Europe to America on a little sailboat, I give her credit, right? Like, if she truly believes what she says, she put her money where her mouth was. She spent, however many weeks or months it takes, I don't know, with modern technology, how much faster you can sail.
Right.
From, but back in the day, I think it took a couple of months, right? So like, she actually did that, supposedly.
Well, she put her money where her mouth is, but she doesn't.
Right. And then you get people like frickin' Taylor Swift. I don't know if we talked about it last week or not. But
I saw the map. I saw the map.
Yeah, her carbon footprint is like 4,000 or 40,000 times bigger than the average American. While she's sitting there screaming at you for driving a frickin' pickup truck.
Yeah, they're all retarded.
Yeah, they just don't believe what they say.
They don't live in reality.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, I guess it comes back to, like we say all the time, like, don't contribute to malice that which can be attributed to ignorance. But I can't imagine these people are actually ignorant at this point. Like, I'm pretty sure they're just evil, malicious people who are lying
I think
some.
When it comes to like government officials and stuff like that, I think there's a lot of malice. But when it comes to like just a random celebrity, I think not the ones that like buy into, like the ones that, so like for example, some of the older celebrities that buy into and shill and get paid to do advertisements, whatever, like that's malice, I think. But also, I think there's like a level of ignorance when it comes to like Taylor Swift, because she was so rich at such a young age. She doesn't live with the regular people. I don't think she was even like that bad off to begin with. They don't understand normal working people's life at all. They've never been in it. They've never had to struggle. Like me, I my first went out on my own. I was renting a house and I had roommates. And we split the rent. And then I got better. I got a little bit more money. I got older. I got my own apartment. And then I was in charge of that. And then I rented my own little house and I was in charge of that. And then I had to get finance for my first car. So now I had to pay my rent and my utilities and my car payment and my insurance. Then I was in charge of zero money. Like, can I squeeze it in my budget? Yeah, we'll figure it out. And then you move up, and it's like you're responsible for all that the whole time. doing that, paying for all your own stuff when you're by yourself and realizing you have no money. But then imagining, it was like impossible to imagine having a family and paying for all that, right? But then you do it, then you figure it out and you get better. And it's always a struggle to take the next step, right? But these people, all of a sudden, they just had all the money in the world. And they went and they started living in a different reality from a very young age.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Taylor Swift's way more wealthy than she was growing up, but don't let that chick fool you, dude.
You can't.
Her dad.
You can't. Even if you had a family that was normal when you were a kid, but you happen to become famous at a pretty young age and make a ton of money and change, that doesn't necessarily mean you connect, because you were not responsible for all the things your parents were responsible for. Your parents knew the struggle, and then you got and sacrificed a lot for you, and then maybe you made it big and made a lot of money. But you didn't understand the finances.
What I'm saying is Taylor Swift's, I get what you're saying and you're right, but Taylor Swift, don't let her fool you. Her dad, she grew up extremely wealthy.
Oh, yeah, I don't think she was one of the
not
ones.
a little country bumpkin like she was claiming to be. Her dad is a massive financier. Like he was early on into big banks and sold, and he's basically a high level executive, or was. Now he's like her manager because he makes way more money doing that. But he was like a massive hedge fund manager for like BlackRock and stuff.
Oh, those scumbags.
Yeah, she grew up crazy rich. Her dad is the person that your parents warn you about.
Oh, boy. No wonder she writes all those songs.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she grew up pretty darn wealthy, and obviously, I mean, she's done well for herself. And I won't even say I don't like any of her music, but you can't deny she's talented.
I don't care. Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from that. I think she's retarded.
Oh, she's certifiable.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's funny. That's funny though. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, it's good to see. Like, I mean, I wish that this story wouldn't be on, Scanner. I wish it would be on, a larger platform where people would actually see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're just pointing out what, probably realistically like 70% of people already believed anyway.
Yeah, well, the reason why it's not a big, first of all, like, it could blow up from Scanner, like with X and the way things are now with independent media, it could blow up pretty big. Not going to say it's going to be on CNN or whatever. Not that that's big. If you look at the demographics of CNN, it's like they have a lot of viewership from like 60 and older. And then like the key demographic is not very high viewership at all. Like independent stuff on YouTube and stuff like that crushes CNN and all the networks for like people our age.
Well, they're just going to keep getting worse too, right? Because all the people who grew up, like anybody like Gen X and beyond, like us, millennials, like we grew up in the age of the internet.
Yeah.
Like we watch our news on, on YouTube, we listen to podcasts, that sort of stuff. Like, their demographic is getting smaller and smaller and smaller every year.
Yeah. And to be completely honest, even now it's artificially held up, because if you don't have a YouTube account, an established like algorithm, because it feeds you stuff that you search for, like, you know what I mean? If you just use YouTube as a website, right? Then all of the mainstream media accounts are at the top of the feed.
Yep.
So even their numbers are artificially inflated. And on top of that, all of the independent places use the mainstream media stories to report.
Yeah.
So their numbers are being propped up still. Like,
yeah, I mean, we do the same thing, right? We go on to different websites and pull the articles that we want to talk about.
Right. But like, think of like a big independent show like Timcast or Crowder or any of those guys. They'll pull up a CNN story, right? Which
Yeah.
artificially inflates CNN's viewership because they'll pull it up and then other people that are watching will go check it out or whatever, you know what I mean? And normies on YouTube will also get it right at the top of the feed and they'll click on it.
True.
It is what it is.
All right. Well, you want to get into this Scamala?
Scamala. We can. This I found interesting. I was just had podcasts on Spotify at work, and Candace Owens one started after one of the other ones finished. It just came on. I don't particularly like her.
She's
stuff.
kind of turning into a bit of a Jake Shields, where she's going a little too deep,
Yeah,
a little too hard in the paint. But
yeah, I agree. But what I like about her is she doesn't care, and she's willing to go against things.
yeah,
The reason why I don't like her content is what I've found. Here's what I like. I like her as a guest. I like her kind of like off the cuff. Like she's done debates, like she's done stuff with Charlie Kirk in the past, where they would go to like a college and take questions and stuff. And I like her in that setting. I like her as a guest on shows. But her podcast is like the one-man show thing, which I've already told you, like I don't typically like the one-man show talking to nobody type of thing. There's a few that I'm good with, but most of them it's a little bit weird. But she has a bit of hood in her, and she's a woman. And I understand it because it does feel she has like genuine feeling and passion behind her stories, but it comes across to me as like abrasive and like obnoxious. Now, I don't get that vibe when she's talking in a show and responding to somebody or conversating, or even if she gets into it and she's arguing a point, it's not as bad when it's in the context of a conversation. It's a little different when it's just her talking to nobody.
Yeah, well, it's tough to do a show like that, right? Like,
I agree. I don't get why
if
they
you
do
don't,
it.
if you don't have anybody there pulling the reins back, reining you in as you go a little too deep, and you're effectively you're in the most echoey of echo chambers.
It's just
there's
weird.
There's nobody there to bounce ideas off of. There's nobody there to check you.
Yeah. I just don't like the one-man show thing. I think Bongino does it good. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, Bongino does it well, but even he interacts with his producers.
Right.
So he's really not even like, he'll give his ideas and then he'll ask his producers what they think.
What's his one guy he always talks to? His name? Guy. That's right.
Yeah.
Isn't that right, Guy? Yeah, I'm not crazy, am I?
Yeah, he said that when he moves into his new studio, I guess he was building this like nice new studio. He's like, Guy will have a microphone.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah. So
but yeah,
it'll be good.
This was good because it seemed like and like, to be fair, I wasn't watching, but I was listening. She was talking about what we're about to show you, and I could picture it in my head. She was doing a good job of narrating it, so I understood exactly what she was talking about. But I haven't seen the video itself yet. But I think she's smart. I think she, for the most part, she has good takes. I think when she has an opinion about something, I understand why she has an opinion. She explains it, and I understand how she got there. Some of the stuff she goes a little bit over the top. I get it. She also, I feel like, might have gone a little bit hard in the paint after she got booted from Daily Wire. Because knowing that she needs eyeballs, she's about to go solo. She might have been a little bit like nervous and been like, just kind of felt a little bit more like she needed the clicks.
Well, I think it was also a little bit of like confirmation bias, right? Because obviously, like we said, she's been going kind of hard in the paint, right? And she was like looking into like
Whether Bridget
Jewish
McCrone
things,
had a
like,
dick or something.
yeah, and she was like, getting into like Jewish things and stuff like that, and like then of course, who runs the Daily Wire?
Well, yeah, I remember that. That's how
Like-
she left.
Right, so that's why she ended up leaving, and then she's like, "Oh, well, I already distrust." She's starting to distrust the Jews, like with everything, basically. And then one of the world's most powerful right-wing Jews kicks her off his platform, and she's like, "See,
yeah.
the Jews are bad."
Part of me thinks that, first of all, she was running out of contract. She was at the end of her contract with Daily Wire.
Yeah.
I think she knew, like, oh, it's contract coming to an end soon, and she probably had heard some scuttlebutt, some gossip. There might have been a little bit of that, like that going on, and she probably felt like, well, if I'm gonna be gone from here, then I'm gonna need to float on my own. She might have been just leaning into that Jewish thing before she left the door, knowing that she's like, I gotta start raising eyeballs now.
Yeah, and who knows, right? Like, when you get up to that sort of a level, like, she may have planned to leave all along because,
True.
she was with Turning Point, and then I think she was with what it used to be Conservative Review, then it was Blaze, and then she went over to Daily Wire, and so like she built up a pretty good platform, right?
Yeah.
So she was probably making really good money, so to speak, with Daily Wire. But then she probably looks at it, she's like, okay, well, if I'm averaging X amount of clicks and views and whatever per week, if I go off on my own and I lose 50% of those, I'm still going to be making a ton more money if I'm the one getting all the revenue.
And I can say what I want.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Daily Wire has a lot of stipulations.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for her. She grew up, she blew up. Even if she loses, like I said, like 50% of her views.
Yeah.
She's still, if you're the one getting all that revenue, you're probably still making out.
Even if you lose a little bit of actual money, you still get the freedom.
Right.
And she's now, what, twice or three times a mother. So that probably changes things too. She probably is like, I don't want to be held to this schedule, these stipulations. Like, let me do my stuff on my own, work around my own schedule, organize my own life, type of thing.
Yeah, because going back to the whole Crowder thing, the Crowder Daily Wire thing, like they had some pretty. If you were on a contract with them, like
tough.
They were running you kind of like a slave driver.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for her to go off on her own makes more sense anyway. She can work at her own pace, put out exactly what she wants to put out, and not be told what to do.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the same thing as my wife, right? Like we're putting the addition on here so she can have a home salon.
Yeah.
So she can be home with the kids more often, but still make money when she feels like it.
Yep. Yeah. Work around your own schedule. Yeah.
Yep.
So, works good. I just realized I didn't see this earlier, but got another chat from Brent's account on Kick. I was watching this shit earlier. Haha. Oh, when was?
That's probably the Alex Jones thing.
Oh, probably. That's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, Alex Jones is the goat. All right, so this is interesting. So this clip is I was listening to this podcast earlier and it caught me. This is Candace Owens' podcast from earlier today talking about Kamala Harris, her heritage, right? I just want to play this for you because it's pretty interesting. Check this out.
It was a discrepancy that was in Kamala's book. A woman that she said was her grandmother named Beryl, a picture of her and her grandmother Beryl. Here it is, visiting my paternal grandmother Beryl in Jamaica. And then I did just a brief search online and found out that Beryl allegedly died 4 years before Kamala was born. So that's a major red flag. Then I had a little bit of a gut instinct. The photos that were being presented of Kamala and her grandparents, great-grandmother and Beryl, I just felt that the women, or the woman, because I think they look remarkably alike, I just feel that maybe this woman was the help. And I'm not saying that because she's black. I'm not racist against black people. I am black. I'm saying this because there's just a lack of emotion there. Like, I don't know if it's just my grandparents, but when they're with you, they're like super cuddly and cute. And this woman's just kind of very serious each time that she's being featured here. So anyways, what happened was we sourced Beryl's birth certificate. And then my instinct got a little bit stronger because her name was spelled differently in the birth certificate, right? So you see that it says Beryl spelled B-E-R-I-L, Magdalene. And we know for a fact, by the way, so people that are submitting other birth certificates, this is definitively the correct birth certificate because it says Iris Finnegan. And we know based on Kamala and Kamala's father, Donald J. Harris, that Iris Finnegan is the mother of Beryl. And then we see that her name changes, the spelling of her name changes, rather, by the time that we looked at her marriage certificate. Suddenly you can see that the marriage certificate has her name being spelled with a Y. Now that to me signaled that maybe she definitely is the help, and I'll tell you why. So my grandfather, before he passed away, maybe like 10 years before he passed away, I got kind of obsessed with trying to find all of these documents pertaining to his life, because I realized like that's my ancestry. And I was having a ton of trouble mining his grandmother's information because on each document, her name was spelled differently, as well as other people in the family. And I was like, Granddad, why is everyone's name spelled differently depending on the document? Like, this is very confusing. Why is it sometimes spelled Liza versus Eliza versus like Lizbeth? That was his grandmother's name. And he explained to me that they didn't know how to read and write. So you forget this. You forget that you had a world the majority of people couldn't read and write, especially if you were not considered like a high-class person. My grandfather grew up on a sharecropping farm. And so what that meant was even if you had a name, if you couldn't read and write, you were going up to the register, whether it was for birth, whatever it was, and you were just telling somebody the name. You weren't saying like, hi, it's Candace, C-A-N-D-A-C-E. You're just saying Candace, and one person might spell it C-A-N-D-I-S. Somebody might spell it C-A-N-D-I-C-E. If you do not know how to read and write, you don't recognize these discrepancies. So that actually, I thought, was a good thing in terms of like my idea that this woman could have potentially just been the help, maybe like on my scent. But I didn't want to be too convinced. Obviously, you know, I lean into the conspiracy mindset because we've been lied to so many times. But like I said, we did find that marriage certificate between Beryl and Lawford Newland, which was in July of 1944. And I want to be clear, guys, we know for a fact this is the correct Beryl. So we're not confused here and looking for more documentation when it comes to the birth or the marriage, because the correct parents are listed. You can see Patrick Finnegan is listed. And so we know that Beryl's parents are Iris Finnegan and Patrick Finnegan. So that is the correct parent, the correct marriage certificate. But we had no idea who Lawford Newland was. We had no idea that Beryl had allegedly been married after she birthed Donald Harris. That would be Kamala Harris's father. Thought that was like quite strange. She would have been 6 years old in 1944. Donald Harris was born in 1938. So this means that she got married to this guy, Lawford Newland, and she had a 6-year-old. So I thought that was quite strange. I couldn't find anything on Lawford Newland, but somebody on the team was able to determine that he arrived on a ship to New Orleans. He arrived in New Orleans, from Jamaica in May of 1943. So we're showing you here the ship manifest, and Lawford Newland is on the ship, and he is listed as, he's listed as a Negro. He's black. It says his marital status is single. That would be correct because this would have been a trip the year before he got married to Beryl. So quite strangely, he went to New Orleans, and then I guess he at some point had to have gone back just a year later to get married. We still have not been able to locate the relevant marriage certificate between Oscar Harris. Now that's, again, Kamala's dad. His father is Oscar Harris. We cannot find that marriage between Kamala's grandfather and Beryl. So that's like a huge question mark there, right? Like, where is that marriage certificate? If you guys find it, we're checking our emails, and we're obviously aware that there are a lot of different Beryls that are being born in Jamaica at different times. Some people are like, this could be the case of 2 Beryls, and they're sending us different birth certificates. Like I said, we know we have the correct birth certificate. We know we have the correct marriage certificate. We know for a fact that this Beryl did get married, and that Donald should have been 6 years old when she got married. So it begs the question, was this her second marriage? Did she have a child out of wedlock with Oscar Harris? Did she have Donald? And then did she get married? Because it lists her on her marriage certificate as a spinster, which means that she's not married, obviously. And then she gets married to Lawfer Newland. And then at some point they would have had to divorce if she remarried and got married to Oscar. So she would have had to have gotten with him, had a child with him, married somebody else, divorced that somebody else, and then gotten back together with Oscar and gotten married. That's like a lot of movement. Again, we don't have any documentation, so we're not going to speculate. But Beryl in general, I'm not describing her as the dog that's not barking, okay? So some people were saying, well, I've seen on different websites that there was also a Beryl Harris that died in 1995, and maybe this could potentially be her. We've done the math on that. No, that woman would have been born in 1914. Like I said, we know for a fact Beryl was born. The birth certificates are probably the most relevant source, because you obviously wouldn't have a birth certificate written years later after the fact that your child was born. It says that Beryl was born in 1917. But I started going back to that piece that Donald Harris wrote. Remember, the first time that we were kind of introduced to the fact that Kamala Harris was Black, it was because Donald Harris wrote this piece, which came right behind Kamala Harris's book, Reflections of a Jamaican Father. And I just would like to, by the way, really stress to you how Black he was trying to suddenly make them. Like, I'm just going to read you the first sentence of this by Donald J. Harris, Kamala's father. As a child growing up in Jamaica, I often heard it said by my parents and family friends, "'Member where you come from." And then he goes on and he writes, my one big regret is that Kamala and her sister did not come to know very well the two most influential women in my life, Miss Chrissy and Miss Iris. Okay, so those are his grandparents, according to him. Those are both of his grandmothers, maternal and paternal. And then the whole piece is about his grandmother, his two grandmothers. And he wrote, both of my grandmothers had the strongest influence on my early upbringing. And then in parentheses, he writes, not to exclude, of course, the influence of my dear mother, Miss Beryl, and loving father, Mass Oscar. Like, I think it's supposed to be like Massa, like Mass Oscar. Very strange. Again, nobody that I know calls their mom Miss Beryl, calls their grandmother Miss Iris, and calls their other grandmother Miss Iris. There's something about that that doesn't strike me as familial. But again, that's speculation. Doesn't matter. Maybe there is this strange family where everyone, like, they address their mom as Miss, and they address their grandmother as Miss, and they address their other grandmother as Miss. Like, that, it really isn't up to us to make any conclusions.
Where
but
she
that's
just
the
said,
last, that's
like,
the first and last time that he mentions his mother, Miss Beryl.
It could happen.
Which signals to me that my theory about her having been into this, you got to stop.
This is supposed to be taking place in Louisiana, right?
Well, a lot of this, some of this took place in Jamaica, though.
Right, yeah. But, like, say the parts of it that happened in Louisiana, they picked up on this part, right?
Right.
There are people in Louisiana that call their mother or their grandmothers, like, Miss so-and-so.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So, like, that may be true.
This part is not the most damning section, for sure. This is...
I mean, it's definitely interesting.
It's in the weeds.
The biggest red flag to me is, like, where she said, you know, the names are insane. I can't keep up with them. But, like, where she would have had to have gotten with her Kamala's grandfather, had her great grandfather, had her grandfather
divorced
him, got married to someone else, divorced that guy, and then went back to that same guy.
Yeah, and
which again isn't impossible.
No, and then the crazy part though is I think I started it a little bit too late. Did you heard the name Finnegan?
Yeah, yeah, classic Black Irish. Yeah,
Black Irish.
You got to go back 2 episodes and play right into this. Basically, someone came for Janet Jackson, and I answered the door. It was a discrepancy that was in Kamala's book, a woman that she said was her grandmother named Beryl, a picture of her and her grandmother Beryl. Here it is, visiting my paternal grandmother Beryl in Jamaica.
I went back
and I did maybe have been confirmed. I'm going to let you guys judge. Don't want to get way... I don't even know where we begin here. I mean, I'm just shaken. So look, if you're just jumping into this, you got to stop and you got to go back 2 episodes.
I feel like there's something I'm missing, but I don't want to go through the whole damn video. But when I was listening to it, it was easier to follow just because it was in my ears. But like,
Yeah.
there was a part where I was like, all right. She had like this questionable stuff going on, but then it was like above it all was like Finnegan. I was just like,
Yeah.
so like even if her father was like Jamaican and black or whatever, well, he's like not fully black.
Yeah, no, from what I saw, and maybe the pictures are fake, but like from what I saw, it was a picture of Kamala when she was younger with her parents and grandparents, and they had freaking dots on their forehead. They're Indian.
Well, her mom is Indian for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But her dad's supposedly black, but according to this, like somewhere above his section of the tree is 2 Finnegans or something. Like,
Which is also weird because like why is his last name Harris?
I have no idea.
Because this is supposed to be her grandmother, right? It's supposed to be her grandmother who married a Finnegan, which would have made her father a Finnegan. Which again, but like she said,
if they divorce,
she had a kid with Harris, left him, got married to Finnegan, divorced Finnegan, and then got back with the Harris.
Yeah. But yeah, it's weird.
I mean, it's a lot of.
It's tough to follow. I tell you what, it's easier to follow if you're just listening.
Yeah, I mean, so it's very disjointed, and it's a lot of circumstantial evidence. But at the end of the day, people have been thrown in prison, and people get convicted all the time off of evidence like that.
Right.
When what is it called? The preponderance of evidence.
Yeah.
It's like you can have if you have 30 different pieces of circumstantial evidence, at what point does it stop being circumstantial?
Right. Well, circumstantial or not, all right, she's part Indian, part black, part whatever. She's not half black. Right. And they got her into the vice presidency because she was a black woman. And now they're talking while she's running as she's a black candidate. And when they asked Trump at a debate about it, he goes, well, I don't care either way. She could be whatever she wants. It doesn't matter to me. I love when he does that. And then he goes, well, somebody told me, I heard, like for the longest time, she wasn't black, but then she was black. But I don't care.
Yeah. Which, I mean, again, he has a weird way of talking, but that's like what everyone else would talk like. It's like, wait a second, she's black? I thought she was Indian.
Yeah.
It's
she
like,
leans
right,
into it, whatever she wants, right?
Well, yeah, it's like what do they call it? Code switching, right?
Yeah. Well, they catch her just like Hillary. They catch her.
Yeah. When she talks to people in Philadelphia, when she's talking to the unions, she speaks one way. When she goes to somewhere down south, she starts to pick up a southern draw. Like I saw a guy that was in my squad in Afghanistan spoke like that.
Yeah.
Like he did that all the time. Like whoever his accent would change based off of who he was talking to.
Yeah.
Like he was from, forget exactly where he was from, somewhere in New England actually.
Okay.
And like on our base we had this thing that needed to get fixed. The guy was a contractor. He showed up to our little base and he came to go fix the thing, and he's sitting there talking to the guy, and the guy's got a southern accent. And then within 3 minutes of being with the guy for the next week, he's talking with a southern accent. And we're all like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's like a mental disability, or I don't know what that, because it's very strange. Like for her, obviously she's doing it, you would think, because she wants to, what's the term, like ingratiate herself with whoever she's speaking to. If she's going to talk to at a college, she talks very prim and proper.
Yeah.
If she goes to the inner city, she talks with a ghetto accent.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't know what makes people do that. If it's like an insecurity thing, if it's like a, is that like a weird like mental disability, like a kind of like a bipolar Tourette's sort of a thing?
They did a study. I don't know if you've heard this. They did a study and found out that Democrats dumb down their language when talking to minorities. And, and Republicans don't change their language.
Right, because we respect people.
Exactly. It's crazy. It's just, it's so ridiculous. Like, I wish people would, we need less people to vote.
Dude, I've been saying it for the longest time, man. We need to go back to freaking
property owners,
go back to, landowners.
Like I'm on board with repeal the 19th myself.
Yeah, if you don't own land or you don't own a business, you don't really have skin in the game. You don't get a vote.
I think one of the best. So like I think repeal the 19th makes sense, but I also think since that's probably like not possible, I think one thing you could actually do to make it so that the people actually voting are a more informed voter base is to require selective service sign up.
Yeah, well, isn't that kind of, well, no, it's not tied to that anymore, right? Or I don't think it's tied to that, but Congress was talking about, adding women to the draft.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying you have to. We're just saying if you want to vote, you have to sign up for selectives.
Right, because that was part of the deal, right? Back in the day, like you got to vote, this, that, the other thing. Like initially, way back in the day, it was only landowners got to vote, and then they moved on and they were like, okay, well, no, if you're a man, you get to vote, and the reason why you get to vote, even if you don't own property, is because you had chain gangs, you had the fire brigade, you had all this sort of like if your neighbor's house starts burning down in the middle of the night, you were required legally to get up, grab your bucket, and start pitching water.
Mm-hmm. And there was a bunch of people too, especially at certain times. Like there were swaths of people that weren't landowners, but they were building the railroad or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they were responsible for building the railroad, but they didn't own property.
Yeah.
They were traveling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to have some sort of skin in the game. Like, I don't know. They might hear this, whatever. I don't really care. Like, I got some in-laws that are basically freaking bums, right? Like they have a job where they know that they're not going to be working 5 months out of the year, so they don't care. They're just going to collect unemployment,
seasonal,
yada yada. Yeah, I mean they work for the state. Their job is to give away tax dollars, right? They work like fueling assistance and stuff like that.
Okay.
So they know that spring to fall they're not going to have a job every year. And like, and then the wife doesn't work because of course it's a typical thing, right? If the wife doesn't work, then your income's below a certain level.
Yeah, you get assistance,
food stamps, and you get this, that, he doesn't make much money. He doesn't make a great paycheck. And she doesn't work at all. But then every year, they're getting $15,000 back in tax return.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm busting my nuts. My wife only works very few hours, but she's a hairdresser, so she can work 20 hours and pull in $1,000 a week.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting screwed every year. They tell us I file married because I have to.
Mm-hmm.
I file joint, but I file no dependents. And she puts aside, whatever it is, 20% every week to pay her taxes. And every year they've come, for the last 4 or 5 years, they've come back and been like, turns out you actually didn't give us enough money. And we get another bill for thousands of more dollars.
Why don't you file dependents?
because I want the most money taken out of my paycheck so that I don't get
Oh,
screwed.
I see what you're saying. I thought you meant like when you did your taxes at the end of the year, you didn't report dependents. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I file on my paycheck. Yeah, no dependents, so that they take
Gotcha.
out the most money
Yeah.
possible. And then that way, I hopefully don't get. But every year I get screwed, dude. Like they did it again this year. We got a bill for like $3,500 that they said that we owed them in taxes. And
Doesn't
it's like,
sound
how is
right.
that even possible?
Doesn't sound
How
right.
do I get the most money taken out?
Is that Maine?
Yeah.
Is that federal?
It's a mix of federal and state.
But I'm wondering if it's worse because you're in Maine.
I don't know, but it doesn't make any sense. Like,
Weird.
yeah, I know what my tax bracket is. It's
Mhm.
supposed to be whatever it is, like 15% or something like that. I pay in like 20%, and then every year they're like, no, you didn't pay enough. Give us more money.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't trust them. I don't trust them.
Yep.
Taking out money.
It just blows my mind. It makes me angry. It's like they don't pay in anything. And there's so many people that are like that, right? They don't pay anything in over the course of a year. If they, if they're in the 10% bracket or whatever, 12%, whatever it is, and they're only making 15, 20 grand in the year of actual like income,
Mhm.
they're paying in nothing. And they're getting, 12, 13, 15, 60. One year they got $16,000 in tax return.
For kids or no kids?
They got kids. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But it's like, dude, how does that happen?
Yeah. I don't like that. I don't like that, but I do like the idea of child tax credits. Not that I think taxes are good in general. I'm just saying, like, I think that the incentive to have a family is good. Promoting more people to be family oriented. I think that's a good thing for like society to
Yeah.
angle towards. So I like that idea. Did
Yeah,
you hear?
I mean, obviously, I don't like taxes in general.
Right.
But like, and I don't even support a child tax credit besides the fact that it gives me back more of my money the government took from me.
Right, but that's my point though. That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
That's the only thing that I support about it.
I like it for, listen, if tax season comes and Trump's in office, I get more money. So I like that.
Yep.
And as far as like the people that are like poor and getting child tax credits, it's obnoxious that they just kind of, but to be fair, it's annoying because they're living a life that you can look at and go, oh, it's kind of similar to mine, right? But like realistically, it's not. Like realistically, they don't have as much.
Well, they don't have anything. They don't own anything to show for it.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So
Like-
like, but that's what I'm saying is like, I don't mind the fact that the taxes go towards that. Like towards them having a family and just getting a little bit extra money and getting by and providing for the kids and stuff. I don't mind that. If my tax dollars are going to go for something, I'm okay with that. It doesn't need to go to Ukraine. It doesn't need to go to, propping up Ukrainian civil servants' retirements.
Yeah.
Buying Zelensky's wife a fucking Beamer or whatever the fuck it's doing. Like,
Yeah, it's insane.
we don't need to do any of that. But if like the person down the street who makes half as much as I do gets a good chunk of money back in their tax return because they have kids to raise, that's way better. Now, I thought, I was thinking about this the other day, thinking about like, I don't know how people are socialist, right? I never understand it. I know some people that are kind of like that, and I don't get it. But I understand their argument that like the capitalist system ends up being corrupt because the money always goes, like people at the top always keep getting richer and richer and richer. I understand that the way our system works with credit and borrowing and all that stuff. Like if you have money, it just grows.
Mhm.
If you have enough money, it just grows. I get it. And that's a little bit annoying because these rich people just get super rich because they have more pieces to play with, which is a little bit frustrating, and I understand that. But they also sacrifice a lot and do a lot to get that money. And these people are really smart oftentimes. And some of them are greedy, and they just get into the gameplay mechanics of, I need to win this so I can get more. And
Yeah.
that's often, you know, it's not a great thing, but like, you know, at the same time, like some of those people make really great products that we all use. But I understand where they're like, oh, it's like impossible if you're like a regular person or even like somewhat above regular and you just can't really get ahead, right? I get that. But like socialism as an answer doesn't make sense. But I was thinking about it recently and I was like, you know what? I don't even think socialism is bad in your town. Like even libertarians believe in socialism in their community by choice.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, but that's a difference, right? It's a different. There's a difference between communal living and communism.
Right, but what I'm saying is like, even if we're under the system we're in now, roughly, I believe in socialism for my town. Like, if I want to pay...
You're talking like police force, fire
Yeah, if I
department.
want to pay into the police force and the fire department and stuff like that in my town, I'm good with it. There should be 0 to 0.5% of it in the federal government. If you want that stuff to happen, it needs to happen around you. I don't need somebody in Texas supporting me in New Hampshire.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes back to what I said, what I've said in the past, right? Like, if there's anybody in history I could go back in time and fight, it'd be Woodrow Wilson, right? Because he's the one who did it. He authorized the Fed. He's the one who enacted federal income tax. Like,
Yeah.
the true decline of the American life and economy happened under Woodrow Wilson.
What year was that?
1913.
Okay, that makes sense. And that was when it slowly started to dive. And then once you hit like the 40s and 50s is when you started getting like weird policies. And then 60s just literally just shot octane booster into the gas tank.
Yeah, 60s under was it Lyndon Johnson? Yeah, I think it was Lyndon Johnson. Or actually, it was either Johnson or Nixon. I can't remember. That's when we went off the gold standard.
Nixon Dixon.
I can't remember which one it was, but it was either Tricky Dick or it was Big Dick Johnson.
Tricky Dicky.
Apparently that guy had a hog on him.
A big hog, big old hog.
But yeah, one of the two of them took us off the gold standard, and we've been screwed, like really screwed ever since. Because when you have a federal bank who just loans government money for zero interest, effectively.
Yeah.
And they could just print money whenever they want to, and then your money isn't backed by anything, which is how they can print as much money as they want to.
Right.
That, yeah, we're just screwed after that.
Your paper is paper.
Which, speaking of that, we got other stuff to get into, and we got to shut this thing down.
Yeah.
Like in the next 30 minutes. But did you see, I'll just talk about it really quickly. Did you see the Thomas Massey, our boy, how he called out the spending bill that just went through? Like a week or two ago, he was telling everybody, he's like, this is what's going to happen.
He said he was going to vote no. Yeah. I knew he was going to vote no. I was on the fence.
Yeah, he was saying how they were trying to push this thing through.
Yeah,
Johnson was trying to push this thing through by attaching the SAVE Act to it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you watch, they're going to pull that away last second.
Yep.
And sure enough, they did. They took it out, and they passed a resolution for funding for the
He
government.
knew it would
until, like,
happen. Yeah.
until like December 22nd, which is what they always do, right?
Yep.
Because it's right before Christmas.
Yep.
Everybody wants to go home.
Yep.
So then everybody's going to get to put in their porculus bill,
Yeah.
whatever they want, and everybody's just going to sign it.
Yep.
Otherwise, they're not going to be able to be at home for Christmas.
Yep.
But he called it.
He was right.
Yep.
But
So shout out Thomas Massey.
I was when I first heard about this before the bill even was put forward, I believe. People were talking about how it was going to be coming up, and somebody had mentioned that somebody mentioned the idea, here's what we do. The continued resolution, the CR is coming up. And what we need to do as Republicans, what we should do is put forward the CR and attach the SAVE Act, and only the SAVE Act, to the CR, and make the Democrats vote no.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's a good idea. I was like, that's a good idea. I was like, hell yeah. If everybody was like, okay, because typically it's the Republicans who are like against the CR. Not all of them, but that's the faction of people that has the most people that are like, let's stop doing this. Right. And this idea was, well, we're going to bring the bill to the floor. Let's bring the CR and attach just a SAVE Act. And what's all voted in, and make them vote no on the CR to shut down the government, because it's always us who is rebelling, right? And looking bad, quote unquote, even though anybody who pays attention that's on the right knows it's not bad. We're like, yeah, shut down the government. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But make them shoot it down. Make them eat it on this one. Make them hold it. Leave them holding the bag for shutting down the government.
Yeah, it would make them show their hand, right? Because if you attach that to it and they said, we're not going to vote for that, and the government shuts down, people are going to be like, wait, what didn't they vote for?
And the Democrats are the ones that are relying on the government. They're always the ones like, we need the government. We need the government.
People would look at it and be like, what is the SAVE Act? For whoever didn't already know, right? They'd be like, what's the SAVE Act? Oh, it's to keep illegal immigrants from voting in our election. And the Democrats didn't want to vote for this?
Yeah. And shut down the government over it.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah, that's exactly what they should have done.
And I was like, yes, that's a good idea. And I was on board with that. And then Massey came out and was like, here they go. They're going to put this in. They're going to do this. They're going to do this. And it's the same thing as we've always done. And I'm voting no. And I remember when he first said that, I was like, I even quote tweeted or something. I was like, Massey's almost always base, but I'm like, but on this one, I think you're wrong. And he made a post like a little bit later on about it again. And what they were saying was, what he was basically saying was, we'll do this. We'll put this in. We'll push it on and make them do it. It's going to get to the Senate. They'll remove it. And he was right. And I was like, yeah, you were right. But I still think it was a good try.
Oh, yeah, it was a good try. It exposes for people who pay attention enough, and that's the problem, right? Because the normies are never going to find out about it.
Right.
Unless someone who's not a normie tells them, and then you have the off chance that a normie stops being a normie.
Yeah, but they won't.
But it at least does expose them.
But not really, because...
It exposes Mike Johnson, too, right? The speaker.
Oh, yeah, well, he's a fucking dirtbag.
Right, but he's the speaker.
He's a coward.
Which means the Republicans have the majority, which means he didn't fight for it enough. So it exposes him on that level. And the fact that he didn't come out and say, hey, we can't get enough Republicans to back this, so this is what has to happen. Like, he just did it silently, right?
He's a coward.
Yeah, and it all goes back to, I forget what the previous speaker's name was.
McCarthy?
Yeah, Mike McCarthy. Yeah. Or no, Mike McCarthy was he's the football coach. Yeah,
John?
whatever his name is though.
John?
I don't know.
John McCarthy.
But
The guy
yeah,
they
it all
ousted.
goes back to like, they never should have done that. They never should have kicked him out and brought in a new guy.
No, I think that was correct.
I don't think it was at all. I don't think they should have done it because he would have taken enough heat from the Republican Party that he would have had no choice but to start to kowtow, and then
No,
And
that the
actually,
reason why
because-
they got him out was because he wasn't.
right.
All
But
the
the
things
problem
that when they got him in, all the things that he promised to do,
Mhm.
he kept going against those things.
I know, but the problem with kicking him out is you now further splintered the Republican Party, right? Because you had like Thomas Massey and stuff. He made that was a grave mistake that he made. That's like the one really bad thing that I'll call Massey out on. That was a grave mistake, and people don't think of it that way, but it really was. They fractured the Republican Party because nobody liked McCarthy, but everyone could agree on him. Once you kick him out, you've now completely, the quote-unquote, Liberty Caucus,
Mhm.
they've now completely offended and had their backs turned now on by everybody who was a McCarthy supporter. Then you've got all these 3, 4, 5 different groups of Republicans in the House that all want their own guy to be the next speaker.
Right.
And then all you're doing, you're just alienating people.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It further fractured the Republican Party. They could have just leaned on McCarthy.
I think it did at first, but I think because they did it when they did without hesitation, that now it's not as fractured as it was. I think there was like some problems at the beginning, right? But I don't think the votes, I don't think are as that crazy now. There's always only a few Republicans that go against the grain now.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But what are other Republicans giving up to get those people's votes?
Well, I'll say this, so one of the things I think that was good about it was now it lets people know that they can't just go in there. Because what happened was McCarthy had all kinds of deals lined up with all kinds of lobbyists,
Mm-hmm.
and now he owes them.
Well, so does Johnson. Don't get it twisted.
No, I know, but no, Johnson. The people that voted out McCarthy didn't want Johnson. Don't get it twisted. They didn't want Johnson. That's just what we ended up with.
Right, that's the problem. That's why it fractured the Republican.
Right, but what I'm
caucus.
saying is the message that it can be done now. McCarthy had lined up all kinds of deals with lobbyists, got him into the position, got him up there, and then they remove him, and now all those people he was supposed to deliver, he owes all those lobbyists now. Which is why other people in the House have reported that, like, walking by him in the hallway, he shouldered that guy, remember?
No, I don't remember that.
Oh, you don't remember that? They were walking through the halls or whatever, and he, like, dropped a shoulder into a guy. Like, I forget which guy. I'll see if the clip comes up right away.
Yeah, so while you're looking that up, so the main reason why I don't like it is, like I said, it fractured the Republican caucus in the House, right? But beyond that, they passed the resolution where any single person who calls for a vote to change speaker, it now happens, right? So they effectively added a filibuster to the Speaker of the House. That is so chaotic. Like, moving forward, it doesn't matter, like, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter, whatever. If, by the grace of God, if they manage to get one of the Liberty Caucus members to be the Speaker of the House, as soon as they did something that pisses off someone from another caucus within the Republican caucus, Boom.
Mhm.
All they got to do is get one vote. One person calls for a vote. Everybody's in the back. Everybody's on the backside doing their back channel deals. They get someone else put in. As soon as they piss off someone else calls a vote. It's the same thing as the filibuster. Like,
Yeah.
it ruins the process in and of itself. Like, I get the principle why Massey and them did it, but I think it was extremely short-sighted.
Vote in the back by Kevin McCarthy, that accusation coming in. Here's what he had to say.
Standing in the hall doing an interview with her, and Kevin McCarthy walked by and he elbowed me in the kidneys as he walked by, and I it kind of caught me off guard. And if you ever get shot in the kidneys, it's a little different than anywhere else. And so I moved forward. Hey, baby. Hey, and don't maybe come at you. And so I felt.
You felt it was on purpose and not an accident.
Oh, 100% on purpose, man. What are the chances? 435 members of Congress, 8 of us voted against him. I'm the one who did it. I'm one of them that did it. He's publicly called me out. And he didn't see any cameras. He didn't think anybody was paying attention, but Claudia from NPR was paying attention.
So you chased after him?
Do what?
You chased after him?
Yeah, I did. Because I really didn't know what was going on. I turned around and then I see him scurrying away, and so I just and then I followed in pursuit, I guess you would say.
You're quite confident this was deliberate.
Oh yeah, come on. I'll take a polygraph test and have Kevin take a polygraph test.
Burchett says this happened while
I remember that happening because it's right during that time, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Just elbows him walking by.
Hey. I mean, so yeah, it's weird, right? Like, we got to move on.
Yeah.
But
It shows his character, you know.
I think at the end of the day, man, you know what we need to do? And this is gonna sound weird, and I'm literally not joking. We need to legalize duels.
Yeah. Or boxing match. Do it UFC style.
Dude, something.
Yeah.
Something, right?
Do it UFC
Way
style.
back in the day, if you ran your mouth to
Some of the ladies got more balls than the men these days.
Yeah, back in the day, if you were in the House of Representatives and you called me out for something and I thought you were a liar, like, people were beating the crap out of each other in the halls of Congress.
Yeah.
And guess what? They were self-policing. And this kind of crap didn't happen back then.
True.
Like,
Fisticuffs, we call it.
Yeah, what? Hamilton and Burr, right? Burr shot and killed Hamilton in a duel.
Yeah. Well, did you know that most duels were not considered like killing? It was mostly for honor. Like,
Yeah, it wasn't the point wasn't to kill the person
it was like,
necessarily.
did you show up and follow through? It was like a game of chicken, but most people didn't even shoot each other.
Yeah, I mean, you're using a freaking musket pistol.
Yeah, an old six-shooter.
Yeah, they were using a freaking round ball, smooth bore freaking pistol. They stood like freaking 20, 30 feet apart because you had to be that close to even have a shot at hitting someone.
And it was just like, pull it out, and they had to pull it up. They pulled it, they left it at the hip, and they just slide the hand back on the hammer, right?
Yeah, you would stand sideways to like make yourself more narrow, and you'd both just pull out your guns, point them at each other. Someone would say fire, you both fire.
Oh, I didn't think it was like that. I thought it was you both stood there and there wasn't really like a legitimate countdown. I thought it was like one person made the move first and the next person realized they were making the move, so they pulled. And I thought it was like pulling out of your holster and then you just tipped it up right where it came out. You didn't.
Oh, you're thinking like Old West duel. No, I'm talking like literally congressmen, like Hamilton and Burr.
I thought that's
like,
how they did it though. I thought they were holstered.
No, dude, it was all planned out. You would go somewhere, there would be witnesses, everything. You'd go to the place at the time, same as like in the Old West.
Okay.
And there were different rules. Like sometimes they would both point at each other, someone say fire, and you'd both fire at the same time. And then other times it was if I challenged you to a duel.
How'd they miss?
Because it was smooth bore round bullets.
Still,
it's the same reason. Think back, Revolution and
muskets, yeah.
And before that, right? The whole reason that they lined up across from each other in an open field
Yeah.
was because the weapons were so inaccurate.
Yeah, I get that, but like still,
like, that's
you'd
what they
think if
did,
you
and
were able to hold it straight out, I guess it would come down to like I wonder if like if two
Well, the
people
pistols
were competent shooters, I wonder if it came down to like how well one's barrel was. Like if someone's barrel was made happened to come out super true, that person would probably hit you most of the time. But if you had one that didn't come out that true, you would miss.
Yeah. So yeah, they had it both ways. You could either stand there and you could both fire at the same time, or if I called you out,
Yeah.
then you could fire at me first as a way to defend, because I called out your honor.
Yeah. That
So
seems
you
weird. Like, I don't know,
would get
man.
to shoot at me first.
If I was standing like 30 feet away from you and I made a homemade musket ball shooter out of a piece of a pipe or something, even if it was like a piece of pipe that was just kicking around in the shop or something, so you can't guarantee its accuracy, I still feel like from 30 feet away, if I was able to just hold it up and point it at you, I'd hit you.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, right? It could be wind, or I mean, again, you're using a completely non-ergonomic pistol, right? Like to hold it, your hand is like this.
Yeah, it's like a curved knob.
Like it's not like modern day where it's ergonomically correct.
But still, you would think.
And it's a 50 caliber. Like most of those old muskets were basically 50 cals.
Yeah, this giant steel ball, right?
So yeah, you're holding it at a weird angle. As soon as you fire, it kicks back like crazy.
Yeah. I guess it just seemed.
I mean,
seems
I don't
like
know.
You would hit someone more often than not if you were just able to line it up on a non-moving target.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would think that it'd be a lot easier to hit someone than it was, but when your armies had to line up, 25 yards away from each other, and 12 dudes would shoot and only 3 would fall to the ground.
Yeah, the most devastating weapon was just a gigantic version of that same gun.
Exactly. with like a 3-foot barrel, and
no, I'm talking about cannons. It's the same thing.
Oh yeah.
It's just a gigantic musket. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Hard to miss with that though, dude. Even if it hits the ground, you'll fucking knock a few legs off, dude.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right, let's go to this next one.
Yeah, let's hit this.
So this is a Trump third assassination attempt here.
12. He had just loaded his luggage into a ride on the airport, children in Iran, or to a different wife and children in his native Pakistan. In weeks of secretly recorded conversations with federal informants,
by the way, this
Merchant
is
had
Jeremy from
confided
the
that he had
Quartering
families in
Chicken
both
Channel.
countries. He also, according to an FBI affidavit, had said that he had come to America to arrange the removal of Donald Trump. I'm sorry, of a political person. The identity of that person was not explicitly stated either by Merchant or by his handler in Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Gee, I wonder, why is this story coming out about Iran today? The day after we sent more troops to the Middle East, the day after we sent a dozen warships and fleets of fighter jets to the Middle East. I wonder if some crazy harebrained bearded guy in the Midwest has been talking about how our government wants to go to war with Iran, and they definitely want to do it before the election. Gee, I wonder why this story's coming out. Any hoozle. Documents posted online by Senator Charles Grassley back on September 5th after the Iowa Republican said it was provided to him by a whistleblower. But along with the other evidence, the documents all but confirmed Donald Trump was the person he was authorized to eliminate and paid $1 million to do so. In the leaked document, Merchant described remotely scouting Trump's rally, then sending written report on event security, how many guards, how many body scanners, back to Tehran. In secretly recorded meetings described by the FBI after his arrest, Merchant games out the assassination with the informant. The plan detail involved a crowd, a staged demonstration intended to serve as a distraction, a target at the podium, and security all around, alerted the Iranian plot well before his arrest. war. And we've got an interesting now connection between, oh man, this other loser, Routh, that was down at Trump's golf course. Get out early and vote in person. That's all I can say. And then spend the next 2 weeks after that trying to recruit at least one other person to co-vote. It's going to take probably you recruiting 1 to 2 people, because we know that things go burr. We know that, you know, in Wisconsin, for example, 99% of the state is Trump country. But I have to recruit enough of my fellow hicks out here in the middle of nowhere to, you know, overcome people going door to door in Milwaukee and harvesting ballots, you know? Federal authorities say they found no evidence that Lee Tardy Oswald acted with the assistance of anyone else, let alone Iran, nor has any evidence emerged connecting Iran to Ryan Wesley Routh, the last guy who was apprehended after the other attempt on Trump earlier this month in the golf course. Though Routh did display sympathetic interest in Iran in his self-published 2023 book about Ukraine, he mentions Iran dozens of times and states that he repeatedly attempted to obtain a visa to join my Iranian friends in Iran and protest the U.S. sanctions on the government. In a passage expressing regret for voting for Trump, which he never did, Routh addressed Tehran directly. You are free to end Trump, as well as for me, for that error in judgment and dismantling of the nuclear deal. No one here in the U.S. seems to have the balls to put natural selection at work. Well, he didn't either when he ran away like a coward, by the way, when faced even with the slightest pushback. Now, Iran has long had a huge bounty on Donald Trump over his removal of Soleimani. I want to say it's like $20 million or something crazy. I'm sure they'll never actually pay it. But like this whole Iran thing is wild. It's it's cooked up. You know, Iran has hated Trump since 2016. Now suddenly, 8 years later, they're freaking everywhere with assassin teams, and then they got this Routh guy talking about Iran. Again, meanwhile, yesterday we're sending warships and fighter jets and all this kind of stuff. You could say merchants arrest. By contrast,
you get the idea.
Yeah.
I think the meat and potatoes might have been at the beginning.
Trump only this time it was
that,
apparently
the Indians that were praying
foiled,
for him.
plus a new very suspicious connection, a very suspicious Ukraine guy, connection to the Las Vegas individual. This stuff is getting so mind-blowing, and all I can do is thank you all for continuing to tune in, continuing to subscribe and follow wherever you're watching. That's all I can ask, and that's all I would ever ask from you. I know I do a lot of ad reads and all sorts of stuff like that, but at the end of the day, your viewership is...
All right, Tess, so I should have fucking marked it better. I'm trying to find the... I would have timestamped it.
According to the sworn affidavit, both people suddenly have ties to Iran, just like this guy. It's curious, both people suddenly have ties to Iran. How about another interesting tie? You know that loser Ryan Routh, who...
gone beyond. Yeah, I should have timestamped it better to get the specific meat and potatoes, but
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it goes back to, what we talked about, and, a lot of other people have talked about last week, right? Like, seeing all of this, and especially with this Routh guy, like, he claims an income of $3,000 a month, yet he travels all across the globe. He does all these different things. He lives in Hawaii.
Yeah.
He claims that all of his trips and everything, this is one thing that I heard this week, that he claimed that all of his trips were funded by his ex-wife.
Fucking sugar mama.
Why would his ex-wife give him all this money? You know, and it's possible. I guess it is possible. You know, maybe his ex-wife is his handler, and she's getting the money from whoever. But it sure seems like these people that are taking these shots at Trump there's someone above them pulling the strings.
Yeah. So, I don't remember which exactly part of the video, but I believe this third assassination attempt thing is like an actual story of like they caught it ahead of time.
Yep.
Thing. Which is why I was like, he's going through a bunch of details and stuff. I was hoping to get the actual subject section, but
I mean, at this point, it seems like the management of Secret Service want Trump dead, right?
Oh,
because
that's right.
After Pennsylvania, when everybody was like, "You didn't have drones, you didn't have this, you didn't have that," like, what's going on here? And then they're like, "Oh, we're fixing that." And then what do? You fast forward 7 weeks, and this guy tries taking shots at Trump while he's at the golf course.
Yeah,
it's like, "Hey, did you have any drones?" Nah, we didn't have drones. It's like, oh, okay. Right. So you guys complained that you didn't have enough money to secure Trump and stuff like that. Congress gives you another couple $1 billion or hundreds of millions of dollars, whatever it was. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And you still couldn't go out and buy a $300 drone.
Yeah. So, this just sparked my memory, but here's what I've been thinking about after hearing about this stuff. I think that, and this doesn't have anything to do with the party itself, I think that Trump voters need to start talking about who do we vote for if Trump gets taken out.
Well, I mean, it would automatically go to J.D. Vance. There's not enough time to hold another primary. So...
No, but that's the thing. Is like it doesn't automatically go to J.D. Vance because there's a lot of like Trump voters who are like gonna default back to DeSantis or Haley or something like that. I think it needs to be like we need to talk about it now so that we're all on the same page, and everybody needs to know that regardless of what the establishment decides is the correct name on the ticket, if we all go in and write in somebody, it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, so that's the thing, right? Like the natural thing to do is keep JD Vance in, and then because he's gonna have to, if Trump did get whacked, then JD Vance has to. We don't have time for another primary.
No, so I know that, but we all need to know.
A running mate.
I don't know how the laws work. Are they going to just slide JD Vance in because he hasn't actually become vice president? If he was president already, JD Vance becomes the president. But does he automatically become the presidential nominee?
I think that he would, yeah, because Trump was selected as the nominee,
right?
And Trump selected JD Vance as VP.
Okay, if that's the case,
now
then good.
whether or not JD Vance stays
gets the votes,
VP,
yeah, but does he get the votes?
I can't imagine that he wouldn't.
I can't either, but I think it should be talked about, and just to make sure, it should be talked about. Like everybody should just come to an agreement. Like,
well, we can go. Yeah, well, this is kind of like picking a new speaker for the House.
I mean, it should
not going to be an agreement because you're going to have a bunch of people who say that it should be freaking Nikki Haley, and then you're going to have a bunch of people who say it should be Mitt Romney.
Trump should say it then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Trump should say it. He should point this out to his base and be like, listen, this is what's going on. If they whack me, it's going to be JD, and JD is going to pick one of these two people.
And you got to do it, and I think you got to say it, and you got to say it and make it a news story so that everybody hears it. Make it go viral, make it go on X, make it come trending so that everybody knows. And then not only do that because just in case, but also do that because then it puts it out in public, and the opposition now has to go, oh, so if we do finish the job, it doesn't really get any better.
Yeah, like, part of me, and I still go back to what I said about him before. Like, I think that he's more valuable to us in a cabinet position or in some position that he can be installed in a bureaucratic role. But like, if Trump was to get whacked, I think, even though it goes against my better judgment, I think it should be J.D. Vance and Vivek.
I agree.
Like, they would raise so much hell.
2 Ohioans, dude, that went to law school together.
Dude, they would raise so much hell.
I know. But here's the reason why I think they should say it, just to get everybody on the same page, so that everybody knows that if not this, then this. But also because if you say it, and then we all understand, then the backroom dealings of let's make sure we get rid of Trump could die down, because then they're going to go, so we're not going to get Trump, we're going to get somebody possibly worse.
Yeah, even if they don't actually believe it's worse, as long as you give them that patina of doubt, right?
So they're like, do we want Trump? So we're going to go through all this and risk this crazy of a thing just to get Trump too?
Right, which not to mention, like,
because they may be like,
Trump,
let's take out Trump and Nikki Haley's going to get all the votes or something.
Yeah, like if Trump does get whacked, like the couple of times that he's been, the Pennsylvania thing, and then now this thing with the golf course, like his numbers are going up. If he actually gets whacked, I don't think it matters who the Republican candidate is. Like, the Republican's going to win.
Right, but my fear is, like I said, I don't know the laws. That's why I thought of this thing. Is like I don't know the laws. I don't know if the VP automatically becomes a thing, or does it become the second place primary candidate?
I don't know. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Don't know.
And if that's the case,
unfortunately, that would be Nikki Haley.
That frightens me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
but at least she would only be VP.
No, but would she?
Well, I don't know
because Vance wasn't elected.
Like, but JD Vance, Trump being the nominee and then picking JD Vance as his running mate. If Nikki Haley slides in, I would imagine that she would slide in as VP.
But that's why I brought the question up, because I don't know how that works, and I don't want her anywhere near it, honestly.
Let me look. If a presidential candidate is assassinated, who becomes the new candidate? So this is from The Hill. It was written July 13th. So right after the Pennsylvania thing.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the possibility of a presidential candidate being assassinated or harmed isn't new to campaigns. Teddy Roosevelt, yeah, that's true. Teddy Roosevelt was shot while he was campaigning. But that actually won him the election.
Yeah.
Because he's a boss. He was a Democrat, but he was a man's Democrat.
He finished
and
the
he stood
speech.
up there and did the speech, yeah. Really? That didn't even answer it. What is this stupidity? Hang on.
Dumb. Yeah, I was just saying that because I was worried about
While
it.
there aren't rules governing what happens if and when a presidential candidate is assassinated, there's general guidance. Candidate dies. The general explanation is that it depends on when a candidate dies or is unable to participate. If primaries have not been held yet, a particular party might need to push back the events. If the convention has already selected a candidate, which is what's happened, that particular party would then need to select someone new, and both the Republican National Committee and the Democratic National Committee have different ways of going forward. So effectively then the RNC themselves would tap the next candidate, which again would probably be JD Vance.
I just worry.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a possibility that people could get in there and screw with it, right?
Well,
Like,
this
I mean,
the RNC. Like, I don't know what the fuck those people are. I don't trust them. I don't trust the
dude, I don't trust them as far as I could throw them either. I'm with you, but they would be committing suicide if Trump got assassinated and then they removed Vance, who was Trump's
I don't
tap.
even know if they would remove Vance. They would probably leave him as VP, and they would be like, "But Nikki Haley has a lot of support, and she's a woman, and we need to win this."
But here's the thing.
You get what I'm saying, though?
Everybody knows that she doesn't have support. Right? Everybody knows that she doesn't. Just because she stayed in the longest didn't mean that she had support. Vivek had more support than she did. And Vivek had, like,
Early on.
less than 10%.
Early on, he did. But she was gaining more at the end.
Well, yeah, but she was going... Toward the end, it was the more liberal states.
Yeah. True. I don't know. It just worries me. I just think it needs to be said publicly, talked about, so everybody knows what the deal is. Like, it needs to be said, and just so that everybody knows the deal. And then also, as a, guess what? If you do follow through and it works out, plan B is going to be just as bad. So why risk it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Why risk it with all that bad PR back on you and then still get a Trump version? Anyways.
Yeah, I
just feel like it should be talked about. It should be known. That's all.
I'm just trying to, like, who would actually be a good pick for that? Like, I don't want DeSantis. I don't want DeSantis.
I don't either.
I don't even think he should ever run for president again. Like, he's doing great as a governor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe put him in as, like, attorney general or something like that. Like, keep him away from the presidency. He had his opportunity. He ran a terrible campaign.
Yeah, his team was awful.
Yeah, he's done. He's a one and done guy, which I'm sure he's not in reality, but he should be a one and done guy.
Yeah.
Like, he put up his best effort, and it was a terrible effort.
I think Alex Jones.
Stick to what you're good at.
They just shut down InfoWars, dude. Alex Jones, my president. Dude, if the RNC tapped Alex Jones, dude, oh my God. Can you imagine?
What about if the RNC honors Trump and picks JD Vance, and then Vance picks Jones?
He would never.
You're right, he would never. But
what if the RNC tapped Alex Jones and then was like, I love JD Vance. I'm keeping him on the ticket. And then just went forward. And he just started campaigning for like 2 weeks on just, we're going to take down the globalists, WWE style.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, if Trump does get whacked, dude, it's going to get wild.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is effectively what I assumed. Because where it's past the RNC, then the delegates, aka the RNC, would choose whoever replaces Trump.
Yep.
And that would get crazy.
Absolutely.
Because that would be insane.
Because
I can't even imagine. A lot of the delegates probably didn't really actually like Trump, but they knew that Trump had such overwhelming support that it didn't matter if they didn't give him the votes, so they just gave him the votes.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody was going to be able to beat him anyway.
Right.
So they just gave. But if they had a new opportunity to not pick Trump, we could have complete chaos.
Yep. All right. So this was breaking news like right before we started, so I wanted to break it up real quick since it's hot off the press. I got a notification from the Daily Wire. Article by Ryan Saavedra says NYC Democrat Mayor Eric Adams indicted in federal corruption case. New York City Democrat Mayor Eric Adams has reportedly been indicted in the federal criminal corruption investigation that has cast a dark cloud over his administration for nearly a year. The New York Times reported that the indictment remains under seal and it's unclear what charges he faces, but once it's unsealed, he will be the first New York City mayor to be charged while in office. Quote, I always knew that if I stood my ground for New Yorkers that I would be a target, and a target I became, Adams said in a statement. If I am charged, I am innocent, and I will fight this with every ounce of my strength and spirit. The investigation had initially centered around whether he conspired with the Turkish government to funnel illegal foreign contributions to his campaign in exchange for actions that he took as mayor. Investigators were also looking at whether he got free flight upgrades from an airline owned by the Turkish government.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
That's called donations in kind.
And then, this is down here. The New York Post reported that U.S. Attorney Damian Williams is expected to announce the charges tomorrow when the indictment is unsealed. The sources told the publication that Adams will turn himself in early next week. Quote, I do not see how Mayor Adams can continue governing New York City, end quote, said far-left Representative AOC. You know who she is, the big booty Latina.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Well, that's interesting.
So tomorrow,
Yeah,
that's going to come up. Okay, look at that.
Bongino will definitely have something to say about that, because
yeah.
Bongino has been railing against that dude since he was running.
Mm-hmm. And here's another thing I want to just touch on real quick. I'm not going to go into it. Maybe we can touch on it next week. I'll have to prepare it more. But if you get a chance to check it out, do listen to it. The Culture War podcast that Tim Pool does. Mm-hmm. I think it's once every Friday he does one. And last Friday he had one with a guy who, just a kind of a strange guy who did a bunch of like entrepreneurship and like early social media stuff and got pretty big on it. That ended up in like a weird court case where like, I think it was like Philadelphia cops were like gunning for him and tried to charge him with murder, even though he was just, or attempted murder or like something like that, even though it was just like a fight he was filming or something. It's a weird story how it came to pass, but turns out this guy is like the #1 guy going after Section 230. And they've been fighting for cases and stuff, and they've been shut down at the Supreme Court, and they're finally getting one up. And they go through like the way the law is written, certain sections of Section 230. And they've determined that almost all the social media companies are breaking Section 230 as it's written.
Oh, okay.
It's a cool podcast because they break it down well and they talk about it. And I thought that was pretty cool because that's kind of coming up, and it's gonna, if the case works out the way it sounds like it should, then all of these social media companies will be basically not allowed to use algorithmic timeline.
Okay.
It's interesting. You have to listen to it. I can't break it down off the spot, but if you get a chance to check it out, dude, it's like a 2-hour podcast or whatever, but he breaks it down and they explain it. And Tim Pool is very familiar with stuff like that. So like the conversation is really good. And I think it's like Tim and that guy, I forget his name, and Libby Emmons, the editor of the Post Millennial. And it's really interesting stuff that like could shake the entire fabric of like online media. But I just wanted to get that out while I had it on my head, because if you haven't checked that out, anybody who listens to this, you should go check it out. It's the Culture War podcast from last Friday, so that would be 20th, I believe.
Okay.
Go check that out. It's a really interesting conversation. The beginning's a little bit shaky because he's just given like his origin story a bit, but sit on it for a little bit until he gets into the meat and potatoes, and it gets good. It's good.
All right. Yeah, you keep telling me to check that out, but I keep forgetting about it.
You'll like it because basically every week is a different subject with different people, where they dive into.
I've seen a bunch of the video clips of it.
Okay.
Because is that the one that Phil Labonte used to be on all the time? Phil Labonte?
He's been on the main show.
I know he's been on both, but like, is that the one that he started out on?
No, he was a co-host on the main show.
Okay.
A lot. But he's been on the Culture War a few times too. But the way the Culture War works is like they have guests they want to talk to, but it's not necessarily that they could come on the live show and talk about current events and news. So it's other like interesting topics, but they just kind of live in this one world. So they do a podcast instead of a news show. You know what I mean? So like they did one with like trad wives once. They've had like, sometimes it's just like a couple of guests that don't really disagree that much, and sometimes they have two guests that totally disagree. Sometimes they just have on like a person that's super into a certain specific topic, and then they'll have like, he'll just bring on another co-host with him to just make the conversation better. But yeah, they've done things like dating. They've done things like skateboarding. They've done internet stuff, politics, transgenderism, like just specific topics. You know what I mean? So it's a good pod.
All right. Well, yeah, let me hit the verse of the week here.
The verse of the week?
This comes from Matthew chapter 6. It says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body, and if your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." So, I'm going to rope in this next verse here. It's about 5 verses later, and then I'll kind of talk about the context of it. It says, "For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." So obviously this is talking, about storing up treasures in heaven, right? Mm-hmm. So here on earth, we're always chasing after money because we want this thing, that thing, this thing, that thing, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
This verse is warning us against that, right? So we need to, yes, you need to work and get the things that you need to live day by day by day.
Mm-hmm.
But the most important thing is to focus on God and to do the things that God wants you to do. And if you do that, the second verse says, all these things, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. So don't worry about money. Don't worry about chasing after the fancy things, the shiny things. Go to work, do the things you're supposed to do, live a righteous life, live for the Lord, follow his will. And all those extra things, God will provide for you anyway.
He'll give you what you need.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about having all the shiny cars and this, that, the other thing. Is it great to have it? Yeah. But that's not what's going to get you to heaven.
That's not the prize. Yeah. Keep your eye on the prize, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the verse of the week.
Amen.
Amen. And a woman.
Was that going to do it? We're going to wrap it there.
We can wrap it there, or if you want to real quick, you can hit the Hero of the Week, because it is pretty funny.
Okay. Do Hero of the Week.
So this week the Hero of the Week is none other than Alex Jones.
20+ million people.
Oops.
How you doing?
This guy's David.
We're good. 20+ million people dead from those shots.
Oh, yeah.
Well, truth's coming out about you and Fauci. How's it feel to kill more people than Hitler?
You're writing some folk songs about it?
Go ahead.
You write some folk songs?
You'll never get away with what you did, your bioweapon. You're in a lot of trouble. Nuremberg 2 is coming.
What a character. Old Alex Jones there. I like the initial moment where he's like, oh, hello, would you like an autograph or perhaps a tablet or a booster shot? Oh, no, it's Alex Jones. This is a nightmare.
I love Russell Brand's accent.
Yep.
Oh, no, it's Alex Jones. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, so I forget who that guy is.
I heard this. Where did I heard it in a podcast today. Oh, yeah, I heard this today. I wasn't watching, obviously. I heard it. I didn't know where the clip came from. Yeah, I heard it. That's funny. I didn't know the setting but I heard someone talking about it.
Yeah, so it's fine. I mean, and Alex isn't wrong, right? Like, the jab in and of itself was a bioweapon. Like, all the people that have died, all these young kids, all these athletes, all these
on Crowder.
all these people. Oh, it was on Crowder. Yeah, I mean, the jab is killing people.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't know where Alex is getting the claim of 20 million people, but maybe he's going off of the numbers that have been reported to VAERS, right? And they claim that anywhere from 3 to 10% of actual cases are reported.
Right.
So, say there's been, whatever, like 1 million people that have reported death and adverse reactions on VAERS. Maybe he's just compounding from there.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Or maybe there actually have been 20 million people.
Yeah, and I know he plays up stuff too sometimes, but I don't know.
Well, he's got to have some decent data to back that up, because doing that on film, like that's he could be sued for libel.
Well, what could he lose at this point?
Well, yeah, now at this point, but when this happened, I don't know if he knew that he was going to be ordered to sell InfoWars.
He probably had a good idea.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah. Either way, that's a good hero of the week.
Hell yeah, fuck yeah.
Alex Jones, baby.
Alex Jones, baby.
The OG.
One time, me and Phil were out to eat, and we saw a guy with a T-shirt that said "Alex Jones for president," so we bought him a drink.
That's true. That's true. Did see that guy. You noticed him first.
I did. Yeah. I was like, "What? No way!" I actually was surprised. I thought I was at a lib establishment.
Well, it's crazy where you'll see people, right? Like, so when I was when I was drilling up in Brewer in the National Guard, there was a tiny little like hole in the wall gas station, and I had to go there one night for something. I can't remember what I had to go there and pick up, but it was like right up the road from our base, and I show up there and I pull in. I'm the only person. It's like almost 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And I go in there, I run in the store, and I grab what I need, and I'm pulling out of the parking lot. And there's only one other car on the drive in the parking lot, which is the dude who's working.
Yeah.
And on the back, he's got an Alex Jones InfoWars sticker. And so I stop the car, I jump out, and I was like, dude, you listen to Alex Jones? And he's like, yeah. I was like, me too.
That's awesome.
It was like just so random. And then like here in town, it's gone now, but it was there for years because they just redid all the light posts. There was like one of those like I don't know, it's not a transformer box, but you know what I'm talking about? Like they keep them about like head height.
A junction box or something.
Yeah, like the big boxes. Someone slapped InfoWars stickers on that years and years ago.
I love it.
So it's like they're around. It's just most people don't know that they're so close to people who also listen to Alex Jones.
That's true.
So it's kind of funny.
True. Can't be stopped, even if they take away everything. Like Tim Pool made this statement the other day. He always makes a statement. He's like, I don't know how they can get rid of them. They're going to take everything away, right? You can just go buy a camera for $200 or some kid with a phone. Dude, hit record on that. He can't be stopped.
I mean, I wonder if they're going to, in like whatever this judge ordered, like I wonder if in the selling of InfoWars,
they're selling his trademarks and everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so that, because otherwise he would literally just be able to go out, buy a camera, get a couple people, buy a desk, sit behind another desk, and then he could fire InfoWars right back up.
He
so
could,
now,
but
I
he
mean,
can.
he has such a,
You realize he can just do that. He can just do a different name.
well, exactly, and that's the thing, right? Like he's friends with Tucker, he's friends with Crowder, he's friends with all these people.
They're all gonna pump him out.
Yeah, exactly. As soon
It's
as,
not even
as
like he
soon as
needs it.
sells,
They're selling his X account too, but it's not gonna matter because as soon as somebody realizes he's got a new one, it's gonna blow up.
yeah, all these people are just gonna say, "Hey, remember Alex Jones being forced to sell InfoWars? Guess what? This is a new website." And then instantly, he's got just as many, if not more, listeners than he ever had.
It should just be called Winfo4s.
Yeah, it's like
Call it.
it's a it's
call
a
it-
Streisand effect all over again.
Call it Winfo4s.
Yeah, it's a Streisand effect all over again, right? Because after the court case for the Sandy Hook thing, they're like, "Oh, we finally destroyed Alex Jones," and he comes back and he's like, "Actually, I have more viewers than I've ever had." And then now they're doing this, and he's just gonna, again, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. He's just gonna be even bigger than he ever was.
Right? Yeah, I think he should just come out with like Winfo4, like just full on meme it, or like call it like knowledge battles or something.
Yeah, I don't know what he'll rename it. He could obviously do like a play on words of some sort to basically be the same thing. Or, I mean, for years, InfoWars was shadow banned, so he has ban.video and stuff like that for different websites to go to. Which is just the same website as InfoWars. It's just like however you do that, like it's like a subsidiary, almost like an RS. What is that called? RSS feed. Where like when he would try to pump out his links, live links to the show and stuff, like he couldn't share InfoWars, so it would be like he'd send out a link to ban.video,
Yeah.
and then ban.video would redirect you to InfoWars.
Yeah.
So you can do something again like that too, because then like ban.video already has people already know what that is. So unless that's part of what he has to sell off. Which if he has to sell off all of his trademarks, he would have ban.video trademarked, I'm sure. So yeah, he'll have to start from scratch, but he's got enough friends in high places that, I mean, at this point, I'm pretty sure Elon Musk will come out and be like, "Hey,
He's not
this is his new
stoppable.
website."
He's not stoppable.
No.
He's also friends with Rogan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's gonna be just as big, if not bigger, than he ever has been.
I would love it if he came back and was been just immediately just right back. Business as usual. Game on.
Yeah, only downside is he's got to sell. If he's gonna sell InfoWars, he's got to sell all the equipment and everything like that.
He can buy
So
all
then-
that quickly because he can start a channel with a cell phone recording and blow up.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, look at what Tucker did, right?
How many subscribers?
got-
It wouldn't take anything.
Yeah, when Tucker got fired from Fox News, he took his little like 1 month or 2 month hiatus.
Yeah.
And then same thing. He had like a single camera, and he just sat down and started doing videos, and then created his own website. People started subscribing to it.
Yeah.
And that's all. Within a month or two, Alex Jones will be right back up operational again.
And not like Rogan couldn't float him like basic studio startup cost.
Yeah, exactly. And he doesn't even need it,
You know what?
probably, because
He would just go on
he's right up the
Crowder.
road from, I was gonna say he's right up the road from Crowder.
Just go on Crowder.
Crowder would probably just be like, "Yeah, come use my studio until
We're
you're back on your
building
feet."
Alex Jones a studio. Like that would be a video. That'd
I
be
mean, he
gold.
technically already is under the umbrella of Mug Club. He has
Yeah.
he has a show on Mug
They
Club.
licensed one show out, yeah. But yeah, they could do it. All right.
All right, dude.
All right. Let's shut this thing down.
Oh Lord, I have to be up in less than 4 hours.
Go right. Follow me on the internet at Whiskey6TV. Sticks is spelled STIXX. Check it out. Find me everywhere. I'm on Twitter, shit posting. I've been a little bit slow, but I'll be back. We're on Rumble. We're on YouTube. And Spotify and Apple. I don't know. Apple Podcasts or whatever. Check it out. New episodes on Wednesdays around 9 p.m. Eastern. Live. Find us. We're out here. That's it for me. Enoch.
Yeah, like you said, go check us out on all those other places, especially YouTube. Get in there if you don't mind and follow the channel. It's a brand new channel. So, yeah, we could use some viewers over there, get us into the algorithm a little bit. You can look me up on Twitch, X, whatever, Jamoke Enoch, JAMOKEENOCH, no spaces. Follow me, don't follow me. I don't care. Just come back, listen to us again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
That's right. That's it. That's the end. Northeast-based podcast, episode 20. Bye.